silver braces, rehearse my shame, rehearse my faces. You say I'm fine, I'm not alone. The world outside proves me wrong. No sideways looks my swan song. I talk like I'm above the mess. Sleepwalk through my emptiness. Every promise that I can't feels borrowed, bent and delicate. Mirror, mirror, break your spell. You don't even know me well. Your cruelty is honesty, and I'm addicted to what I see. Mirror, mirror, bleed me clean. Show me what I've never seen. A devil tired of damnation. Angels born with salvation. I wear my sorrow like a joke. Drink it slow so I don't choke. Everybody looks annoyed, but ain't nobody want this void. Mirror, mirror, bleed me dry. Mirror, mirror, let me cry. Say I'm wrong, say I'm weak. I pray the Lord my soul will seek. If I should die before tonight, pyre, pyre, burning bright. I asked for help, I got the screen. Static feeling so obscene. Mirror, mirror, who's watching who? Mirror, mirror on the wall, I never learned to stand that tall. If this is me, then let me crawl. Just don't say I had it all. Mirror, 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 mirror on the wall. Mirror, 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 mirror on the
And good morning, Best Chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode of Delicious Malicious Morning Nonsense Chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We had a wonderful Monday and a wonderful Tuesday and a fantastic Wednesday so far, Chat. Hope it's been awesome. And the best, as I always hope Best Chat experiences, which is nothing but the best. Hello to everyone. Caller Batista says good morning, LD and Best Chat. Good morning to you, Caller Batista. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Gunblade Knight says good morning, LD and Best Chat. Good morning to you, good morning to you. Hutso morning says, morning, folks. A drinker gave Project Hail Mary a thumbs up, a rarity in this day and age. Hopefully it will turn into a box office success. Now, hold on. I think of Project Hail Mary. I think I know why. I think I know why the film might be good. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently it's really good. And I think the main reason why is it has Ryan Gosling in it. Usually things with Ryan Gosling in it are pretty good, except maybe The Notebook. as we discussed that one time, right? So I mean, even the Barbie movie, there was supposed to be this ultra feminist screed and all this stuff, beloved because of Ryan Gosling's depiction of Ken. It's a Conor guy says, what the fuck is Hail Mary? It's a movie. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently everyone loves it. But there has been the claim that it might have saved Star Trek. It's a Draconic Demigod says, good morning, Lishivel and Best Chad. Remember to stay hydrated and stand against the evil. Quadruple amputee, he says it for murder. Dude was able to somehow use a gun. Yeah, I saw the video. Turns out he's actually been practicing using a gun. I think the thing was he was actually an amputee. He was actually born like that. So his little nub, the nub on the right hand, on the right arm, has a little finger, and he was using that to fire the gun. I saw it. So apparently he can. He has a little finger on there. And the girl Mars says, good morning, everyone. Don't forget to get your workouts in today. Absolutely essential. Megathon says, did you hit the like button? I did. Morning, LD and Bez Chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And the Megathon, welcome. Let's see, chat. Let's see here. All right, got this going on. Fantastic. My computer restarted and ruined everything this morning. So it's why we're a little late. The computer had restarted last night, updated, and all the tabs I had ready not only disappeared, but in my history, it did not save all those tabs. So I had to go back and refine some stuff. But hopefully everything's good now. Let's see here, chat. Good morning to you, Carter Ketchel. Good morning, Lit Dev and Best Chat. Hello to Carter Ketchel. Hello to you, Lit too. Morning, Lit Dev and Best Chat here for this Waifu Wednesday. Getting over a mild head cold and stuffy nose. Hello to you, Carter Ketchel. Welcome. Lady Facet says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Did you get to watch the Andy Weir interview from Critical Drinker? Not yet. It was one of his better interviews and quite fun. Go check it out. Let's see. Usually it's pretty fun. Let me see here, chat. Get over here. It's the Shadow Electronic says, good morning, all. Seems like every 4 p.m. someone is announced dead or something shut down. Sora AI got hit yesterday. What did? Curious and scared. What's getting reaped today? It's Sora AI got taken out. I was just using that the other day. And so Fat says, good morning, happy hump day, LD and Best Chat. My 3.5 campaign resumes tonight, where we can continue to help the plighted world of Kryn. Oh, yeah, doing one on Kryn. You're doing a campaign in Kryn. That's pretty fun. Wipe its own ass. Ignore their useless god screeching. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always want to try out Kryn. The world of Kryn. That's the world of Dragonlance. So I think that's pretty cool. You get to intermingle with like Rasslin and all those guys. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's see your chat. Thomas Boyle says Project Hail Mary is a good film. Do see it. I do intend to. I mean, it has Ryan Gosling in it. He's literally me. As Minister Vet says, 70 people haven't hit the like button. The fuck? Gray Des 88 says, hey, LD, I was laid off last week. The good thing that's happened to me so far is catching your live stream. Well, thank you very much, Gray Des. And that does suck, getting laid off, getting ousted from your job. It always sucks. And it's always awful to have someone have your fate in someone else's hands that could just dismiss you at a moment's notice. It's awful. But hopefully you got some money left over. Hopefully it won't take you too much time to get a new job out there. Hopefully not. In the meantime, relax and take the time to, just relax without the pressure of the job. I know it's always scary when you get let loose from a job. But it's always good to take that moment and take a mental snapshot, breathe in, and calm your mind. Don't panic and say, I'm going to get through this. It's going to pass. Just do the work. You'll get through it. All right. You'll find something new, find a new job, find something suitable, probably hopefully better, but something new will come along. But good luck to you, Gray Des. For now, relax, sit back. We'll try to entertain. Lady Wolf says, Sora AI. Sora AI is gone? I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's crazy. See, Crimson Desert is possible combat, but terrible story. I've heard it was like a lot of fun. However, it must be good because the modern audience is hating it. They're loving lesbian nights, but hating Crimson Desert. So I assume it has to be good, like really good. And see, if Sora AI was the worst one I've used, was it? I was trying to dabble around with those things because that's pretty fun. I made a few of them, not very many, but just a few. But it was pretty fun. I mean, granted, Sora AI, I currently couldn't do much of Sora AI because I used so many prompts, so many tries, and I got maybe a few seconds of workable footage, which I've shown you, which is that Harry Potter thing where they're like struggling and stuff. The wizard duel. All right, chat. All right, all right, all right. Welcome everyone. Hope you had a fantastic morning so far. But here we go, chat. I wanted to open up with this because I found this chart, and I think it's very telling. 1 second here, chat. Let me see here. Um, let's see here. Which animal could you beat in a fight? Which of the following animals, if any, do you think you could beat in a fight if you were unarmed? And it's British versus Americans. And notice how the Americans are all like way more Americans think they can fight these animals than the British think they can fight these animals in general. And I'm like, you know what? You might think Americans are big, dumb, and stupid, but here's the thing, though. This is why we won the Revolutionary War. Okay, because we believed we could win while the British did not. um, it's really funny the fact that more Americans believe they can beat a rat than the Brits do. Like fewer British people believe they can win a fight against a rat than the Americans. A goose. The goose is really funny because that's a really big gap between the British and Americans who say they can beat a goose. And the British like, no, I don't think I can beat a goose. But the Americans like gung ho. Like the British are like 43% say they can beat a goose, but the Americans like 60-something%. Like most of us can say most of us say we can probably beat a goose in a fight. Princess Praise LD, but of course Space King. Wait a minute, did we actually start on time for once? Yeah, a little bit. Well, actually, we're a little bit late because all my tabs disappeared. But wasn't too late, I don't think. Let's see. All right, what's a king cobra, a kangaroo. Now the grizzly bear one is interesting because almost no British people think they can beat a grizzly bear, but there are quite a few in comparison, quite a few Americans who think they can. Like this, I think maybe 2% of Brits are like, yeah, I could do that, but I don't know. It looks like almost maybe 8% of Americans are like, yeah, grizzly bear is no problem. I can do that. That's pretty easy. It's in a lion. Like once it comes to like serious animals like gorilla, lion, elephant, and grizzly bear, the British kind of tap out, but the Americans don't. The gorillas, lions, elephants. We got that. You know, at least around 10% of us say that we can take those guys on. It drops a little bit because of grizzly bear, but no, the British are like, nah, we can't win in these fights. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we won the Revolutionary War, and the British had to let us go. And Sigurd says, good morning, let's chat. When I heard the Crimson Desert from Endymion, most people don't get past the first puzzle or understand the controls. Also, Yuri said they couldn't get past like the first puzzle. Journalists hate it. It was like an old school game. I don't know. I haven't played it, but it feels like an old school game where it just kind of drops you in and lets you figure it out. And does not give you hints. It's not like this, oh, you've encountered a puzzle. What could it be? The riddle me this 2 + 2 equals what? And then it gives you 4 or 5 hints as to what the answer could be. I come after 3, but before 5. Who am I? You're like, what? Huh? I don't understand. It's a lot of modern gaming has really tried to hold the player's hand to such an extent where like, oh, here's a little challenge. And they struggle a little bit, there's something there that can get them through it usually. So it seems like Crimson Desert has kind of laughed at that concept in the face, and has said, "Nope, you're just on your own." I don't know, but that's what people are treating it like. Let's see. The says, "Yeah, I hate games that basically spell out the puzzle before I have and look around." Yeah, as much as I like Skyrim, remember the puzzle of like the claw and stuff like that, where you just look at the claw and go, "Okay, it's." Bear, butterfly, owl. All right, bear, butterfly, owl. Oh, it worked. The puzzle of Skyrim is that here's the answer. That's how puzzles work in Skyrim. Let's see here. Isn't like a hint or a clue or like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and do this and give you like a poem to solve or something? No, it's just here's the answer. Oh, That works, I guess. Lemon says, does wearing boots count as an unarmed? Can we wear armor? I don't know. Uh, I don't know. Let's see. If we go by some fighting games, like pretty much anything goes. Gray Dead says, God of War Ragnarok was terrible with the NPCs telling you how to do puzzles. Yeah, Ragnarok. Thanks DSP, you fart. They kind of cater to the lowest common denominator, and they want to make. I guess you want to make them feel smart or something like that. But if the puzzles are there for, it's supposed to be puzzling, a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, modern games like here's a puzzle, and then tell you the answer, or if you don't get the puzzle within like 5 minutes or whatever, they'll like a little hint will pop up and say, "Have you tried this?" Or something like that. Like it might take a little bit longer, but it's usually worth the fun. Let's see your chat. I also got the. By the way, I also got the video that triggered a lot of people on Twitter, basically because of the thumbnail. And I'm surprised that YouTube allowed this kind of thumbnail, but I guess they did. Let's see. Mr. Vets, DSP doesn't like video games. Change my mind. I dare you. I don't think he does. I think he's just stuck playing them because he's DSP. One second, chat. Okay, so by the way, chat, today, if we reach Pillarman, if we reach second tier Pillarman, if we reach 150, that'll make up for yesterday, and then get just Pillarman today. If we reach 150 today, we will have an extra stream. And we will this time we will watch. I think we could go ahead and finish off Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or at least get 3 more episodes. So Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, we're getting really close to the end, I think, at least of this arc. So Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on Twitch later today. If we get to 150 dollars today in super chats and stuff like that, and basically second tier Pillarman, second tier Pillarman. And we get a Full Metal Alchemist stream today, and then possibly be up for what will be up for grabs tomorrow is something else on Weeb Day. We'll get something else on Weeb Day. Maybe we'll watch something else. I'll let you decide. And see. So yeah, we're getting close to the end of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it's really ramping up. But so we'll go back to it if we can get 150 today. Let's see. Color Producer says DSP is the reason why games have yellow paint, and God of War Ragnarok devs used him as an example. They did. They literally used DSP as an example used him as an example for the puzzles solving. So the devs of God of War Ragnarok, did they really use DSP as an example as to why we need a simple dumbed down puzzle solving? Because this retard won't. All right, we need to make puzzles for this guy, right? The way we go forward is making puzzles that this guy can solve, and that makes so much sense. Actually, it makes so much sense. Let's see. Yeah, chat's choice on Friday. That's it. But we gotta get second tier Pillarman today to make up for yesterday, and get Pillarman today, and boom, Full Metal Alchemist today, and then Friday will be chat's choice. Chat roulette on Friday. All right, chat's choice on Friday. Let's see. You mean this thing? I mean, it's timed. Otherwise, I would use it. I would use it. So it'd be like I don't know. Let me see. Where is it? Goal. So let me try that out. 10 super chats. We'll do an. I wish that wouldn't work. Let me see. It would have to be like 20. That to be like 20 of these. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Get this. So you have to be like 20 of these. So I'm gonna set it to 20. All right. I'm gonna put it to 20. And let's see here. I'll say extra stream on Twitch. There we go. Get inspired with examples. Start goal. Here we go. Chat. Say 2 hours and boom, goal started. I said for 2 hours. If you can get $25 super chats, according to this, really, it'll all count. All right, really, it'll all count. But that's kind of, you have to set it to like a specific super chat. So, but literally, if we get $25 super chats, that'll get us to Pillarman at the very least, and that'll still count for something. Let's see. There is a video of it. Send me the video. Like put it to the if you're on Discord, send me the video through clips, the stream clip submissions. I've been looking through that for ideas. So I think that'd be pretty fun. I did not know that the God of War devs use DSP as an example as to why we dumb down puzzles. That's crazy. That's crazy. I think the bridge start of FMB damages it. Yeah, I think so a little bit too, because I didn't see the original anime. I'm like, what's going on? So fortunately, I had chat there to say, hey, here's what actually happened. All right, here's the context of this. But yeah, a little bit. I guess that they were assuming that everyone has seen it. I hadn't. And see, needing to do the first 12 FMA before starting FMB is a problem. Yeah, it's a little bit. Fortunately, I had chat there to guide me along. But yeah, I was kind of lost. It's kind of lost. Symphogear. Look, if we get put a bit on Friday, and it is chat's choice. If chat decides Symphogear, we'll watch Symphogear. Let's see. All right, Chad. Well, let's get down to business. One more thing, though. One more thing. Yeah, if we reach goal today, and then we get at least prelimin on Friday and everything, then that not only will that get us a chat roulette on Friday, that will also unlock a Twitch stream where we continue our dive into Ice Queendom on Saturday. Saturday will be Ice Queendom. Megathon, this is a $5 super chat. They gave much. Megathon, appreciate that. The first chat of the day. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Where we go? Where is the right one? Yes. And see, I vote for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX dub. That's definitely on the list. A modern classic that fin for the whole family because exposed LD to more of the world and wacky world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Man. I do like the wacky world of Yu-Gi-Oh, but again, my knowledge has been regulated down to just the original show starring the actual Yugi. Although speaking of which, I was going to reveal this on Friday, but I just had the thought, just like I said, every day I have to make a new story, or every day I have to continue a story or something. Like I have to do it. It just automatically happens. One of the ideas I had was, what if Shishio, Makoto Shishio from Rurouni Kenshin, dropped into the world of Yu-Gi-Oh, not in like the very beginning, like Duelist Kingdom era Shishio, duels Pegasus, and like that's kind of a cool idea. To me, it was a cool idea, but really, how good of a duelist would he be? Like his Shishio is all about strength, right? Now maybe someone in the chat can make a little argument, but really. Like he's mostly about strength, so he'll be more about like in your face powerhouse. I'm going to smash through you sort of thing. Now, on the other hand, he does use a lot of subterfuge in the show of Rurouni Kenshin. Like he has a network of spies that's better than the government's network of spies. Like literally, this is like DM's first villain. Like, look, I love Rurouni Kenshin as I've said before. I like Shishio. I like although my favorite character is probably Hajime Saito. But thing is, I like the story. I like the characters, all that stuff. All right, but Makoto Shishio really is a villain, Sue, and he is definitely like DM's first villain. Like he's how like in the DM we'll have like a government, and then you run into the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild is way better than anything the government could ever run. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense, but like it's really funny that Thieves Guild is so stereotypically way more efficient, way more organized, way more competent than anything the actual ruling part, the ruling state can produce. It is really funny. But it's like that. Like Shishio's network is like that. It's like his information network, as they said in the show, is perfect. Like it's way better than the government. He takes cities, like little towns, away from the government. Makoto Shishio is a genius of subterfuge and stuff like that. So he will use like little weaknesses in the government to not only claim victories but also hide his presence from the world. And then it's kind of like what I mentioned yesterday with Voldemort and Harry Potter. Like he does things in a way that the government will hide Shishio's activities for him. And this, like the Ministry of Magic, hides Voldemort's activities for him, even though they don't like Voldemort and they hate him. But it says that Voldemort was acting with such subtlety and like saying out of the limelight to such an extent that the Ministry of Magic decided to side against Harry Potter instead of siding against Voldemort because it was easier to pretend none of that happened and diminish Harry Potter as opposed to embrace the idea that Voldemort has returned and get the blame for that. Heads will roll, all that stuff. So that's kind of the same thing. Voldemort and Shishu have a kind of the same way of operating in the shadows like that, where they will operate in such a way that the own ruling government will side against those pointing out the wrongdoing, or will cover up for the evil because it's way easier for evil to be covered up and pretend for the ruling party to pretend they don't exist versus embracing the idea or coming to terms with the idea that they are back and they do exist. Let's see. Lemon says they assumed you have already seen FMA, assuming makes you an asset of you and me. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. So, I mean, I guess it made sense at the time that they were making full Brotherhood, but years later, decades later, not everyone has seen Full Metal Alchemist, the original anime. So, stepping right into Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, a little jarring, you get a little lost. Let's see. No, we're going to get right into it. It's the first thing I want to cover today, and it is by Critical Drinker. Actually, I got a Critical Drinker video on it. We're going to check it out. But right before that, I want to go over this. I think it's pretty fun. We need to bring back this Ruby, like this Ruby, teaming up with like the Ice Queendom's Whis, who says that in my world there are no faunus. This is the perfect power match. It's the perfect Ruby show. All right, we need homophobic Ruby and like genocide Whis to come back. You gotta make these guys got to be the main characters. Enjoy that 44% domestic violence rate. I do enjoy the fact that homophobic. Now that I've seen this episode, and I've seen this entire series, in fact, that the homophobic Ruby thing is just because she wasn't happy for the lesbians. Like her sister and Blake kind of revealed to her that they're lesbians, and she wasn't happy for them because because Ruby happened to be on the brink of suicide and had larger matters pressing down on her. So excuse her if she wasn't so happy for you. And it's so that's the origin of homophobic Ruby, was that she had the audacity not to be not to put everything down and all of her pressures aside, all of her concerns aside, being on the brink of suicide, and say and get all gushy and happy for them. That was pretty interesting. Right, chat? But here we go. Star Trek Academy is already dead, and it is. So it has been revealed that Star Trek Academy has been canceled. It's going to have another season, but it has been canceled. They have revealed that it's going to be there's not going to be any more after season 2, but they will have that season 2. So here we go, chat. Here's Critical Drinker talking about Starfleet Academy and what has exactly happened.
No, 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 no.
You know, some decisions in life lead to such entirely predictable consequences that you wonder why they were even made.
Now, mind you, I've not seen much of new Star Trek, not much of it. I had enough of it, though. I have bitten into this monstrosity with Picard. Picard ruined me for new Star Trek because that was the one I was really hoping would be good. Now, I've seen clips and other things from new Star Trek. I've seen a little bit of Strange New World. Strange New World is all right. But to me, they're going way too complex. I've seen this. I remember seeing this when in college with a lot of writers, a lot of including myself, where even recently, even now, when you dive into a new project, you're just a bundle of passion. It's hard to rail that in without an editor. It really is. You kind of need one, or someone else looking out for the story to read it with a critical eye and an objective eye. But what they try to do is that a lot of these writers will try to, what they really want to prove how clever they are and how smart they are. So the prospect of making a story that is just like really long and like this there's so much stuff down the line of grand arcing epic, as opposed to episode by episode problems like we got used to getting TNG and everything, too tantalizing for them to resist. And so this is a moment for them to really show off their stuff. Look how clever I am. Look how I've been planning this all along. They really want those moments, like die hard. Like they're die hard for that moment. They really want. They don't care what happens. They're going to write that story. They're going to write that big epic. Now, I know this is the case because, first of all, this was what we got. We got this big sprawling storyline as opposed to episode by episode issue, but is also what I've seen with lots of beginner writers. A lot of them, and not just those I've encountered in classrooms, but other people that I've spoken to in other like situations where creative writing was discussed, and also infamously DM's first game, right? So while I don't really have a lot of experience playing D&D or a lot of experience in D&D, although it's not zero, I do have quite a few, and I played with Stu a few times. But the thing is, I've studied the D&D culture and the tropes and the horror stories and other aspects of it, not just the horror stories, but other aspects of it. So because it's so heavy on creativity, there's so much there, even though it's very numbers heavy, math heavy. D&D is at its core and center is creative based, and so the DM has to craft a story. The DM has to craft a campaign, a story, give you reasons why you're going there, motivations, villains, NPCs, towns, all this stuff, right? DM has a lot on his shoulders, and it does. Not everyone is going to make a great story, but okay is fine, and it's fun. Part of this is the players also kind of intermingling with you. But here's the thing, though. Almost universally, including myself, when I tried to make my first campaign, you start off step one making this grand scale. You want to make Lord of the Rings, right? You want to make Lord of the Rings. So and here's the worst part of it. Not only do the Baby's first DM campaign is a sprawling epic. You will go through that sprawling epic, detailing every single thing that happens, and you kind of build out every single thing that your players will encounter, right? So here's the first villain, and then after that, they're going to encounter this guy. They're going to find that it's this guy, and they're going to find that this one guy is this guy's brother, and you have like basically a big giant season 1 soap opera ready to go. The only downfall is the players. So the thing is, that's kind of what happens, right? It's kind of what happens. You get DM's first overarching campaign, and this is exactly the same notion, the same pounding drive that has caused modern writers to give us this, right? Picard, to me, should have been, the old retired guy he's just hanging around, and I would say like old Sherlock Holmes. Like imagine old Sherlock Holmes. He's just hanging around his bees, and the little town he's in, and suddenly a local issue pops up. There's been a local murder. Like what the hell? There's been a murder around here for 100 years. What in the world's going on? And so we go to old retired Sherlock Holmes, and he's keeping his bees. Like, oh, Mr. Holmes, there was a murder the other day. He's like, a murder? That sounds awful. I mean, it's still. And then he first of all he rejects the idea of getting involved, but then he's like, I better get in there. Turns out the person who was murdered was Joanna Watson. Oh my goodness, the daughter of my best friend, John Watson. What? Oh no, I better avenge you, my friend, or whatever. Something like that will happen, and they'll get involved. I mean, that's pretty cheap, just killing off the daughter of his best friend. But the thing is, it should be like that, and then he gets involved, and then we figure out the bad guy, and then it should close by the end of that first episode. But what's achieved by the end of the first episode would be like, I'm back in action. I've come out of retirement to help people. To me, that's what Picard should have been, episode by episode issue, where every new episode is a like new conflict that would that seems really impossible for the people around. But Picard's years of experience and his like legendary diplomatic skills would come in and just evaporate any conflict that comes his way. Until, of course, later seasons or whatever would bring him out of retirement, where he has to like one last ride against the Romulans or something. Then that's kind of what we should have gotten. But of course the writers, DM's first baby campaign come in, and they have that energy just bundled up inside them, and they're making that season 1 Picard this big sprawling epic that nobody wants to see. Like, that's not what Picard should have been. He shouldn't have been like this area romping adventure, like going from planet to planet. That's not what Picard was supposed to be. Heck, that was barely what he was at as Picard in TNG. They float around through space, yeah, but it wasn't really about a planet-to-planet adventure. It was more like, okay, what diplomatic situation or ethical conflict are we encounter this week? Right? It should have been sedentary. It should have been relaxed. He's retired, and then he's able to use his god-level skills to solve more mundane problems. And I think that would have been a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting. And see, normal man looks at the $5 super chats. The Star Trek Academy has stopped. It has actually. They're going to have another season, but it has been canceled. Turns out. And see, I kill the shopkeeper. Like imagine being. I think pretty sure a lot of DMs had this experience where they kind of plan out their entire campaign, every last detail, and then session 1, I kill the shopkeeper. It's kind of, as Puffin Force says, when you're the DM, you don't realize when you're new as a DM, you don't realize that controlling the players or running with the players is like adding 4 to 5 this rebellious cats into the situation. So your carefully constructed story might be good as a novel or something, but it's not going to be. It's not going to survive contact with the players. Like session 1, I kill the shopkeeper, and you're going to turn everything on its head. It's kind of like that Spoonie story about Thieves World, where he was playing for the players to, win this one battle or win or escape this one scenario, and then start slowly forming a begrudging relationship with the guy who runs the town. And that was his planned campaign. And then one guy decided to throw a acid flask, thinking that they're being chased by cultists, but it was actually the boss guy who came bursting to the door, and he took a face full of acid. And so that one action changed the course of the entire campaign, from the players begrudgingly working with the guy and growing more respectful of him as he grows more respectful of them, to the entire campaign is now waging war against this guy. So that's how drastically plans can change. All right, once your plans come into contact with the player. Hello, Debo Zero. Thanks for the 1 gifted membership. Appreciate that. All right, chat. That does count, even though it's not counting towards the goal here. It does count overall.
Nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's your chat. All right. Fantastic.
In the first place, the Vindaloo curry from that dodgy takeaway down the road that leads to diarrheal outpourings of such explosive force that they threaten the structural integrity of both your toilet bowl and your rectum. The impromptu game of football in your late 40s with 0 prep time that leads to a slipped disc and the grim realization that you definitely haven't still got it. Or in this case, the decision to release a new Star Trek show about an alphabet soup of sassy 20-something women and benignly agreeable pussified men as they enroll in the giant adult daycare center that passes for Starfleet Academy in the minds of modern writers.
I think I swallowed my com badge.
Already.
Like, what do you mean already? Like, you're expecting them to eat com badges? That's kind of a weird response. Like, it should be, what? Eat your com badge? Get out of here.
Filled with cringe-inducing attempts at Joss Whedon-style quippy dialogue written by aging millennial losers with...
Like, I know Joss Whedon dialogue is fun and campy and quippy, but it's called Joss Whedon dialogue for a reason. Like, it's really tough to get that right if you're not Joss Whedon. Now, people might be tired of this style of dialogue, but Joss Whedon himself does it really well. He kind of balances it all out pretty evenly, where people who kind of copy his style do it perfectly. They just do it so bad that's annoying. they don't. There's something that Joss Whedon does in the balancing of the quips and the dialogue that he does that really sell it, as opposed to people who try to copy him, who kind of only take the parts they like of the dialogue and kind of run with that. It really is like what I call Watchmen syndrome, where like the main thing was good, but the copycats not only have copied it incorrectly, they do it in such a horrible way that they ruin the original in the first place. Like the original gets damaged because of these guys. It's kind of what happens. Normal Man, thanks to the $5 super chat. Thank you very, very much. Let's see. It would have been cool to see Picard becoming a diplomat on a planet or something. Yeah, yes, that's what I was thinking. I was hoping that the original Picard show would be. It would be him retired on his vineyard. That part they got right. Like, this reason why I had a lot of hope for Picard even after I saw the first few episodes, because they get a lot of it right in the beginning. Like, of course he's retired. He's on Earth. He has his big sprawling vineyard. He's well respected. Like, all this stuff. Like, people, it's great. It's great. The beginning was great in terms of how they set up Picard. It should have stayed that way. I know it's not exciting as a planet romping adventure. Like, it's not freaking Star Wars, but it should have been like Star Trek is supposed to be more thoughtful versus Star Wars. That's what kind of gives them both their separate identities. Like, stop trying to make Star Trek Star Wars. But that's kind of what happened. They kind of made Star Wars. But what they should have had happen was that Picard's just on his vineyard, and he just runs into interesting mysteries and conflicts. It would be like following a series about a retired Sherlock Holmes. It really would. Just a master level guy, like a master level diplomat, a master level like a captain, the former captain, Starfleet officer, like a legendary guy, legendary figure, former captain of the Starship Enterprise, the very flagship of the Federation. And his skills are going to be put to the test or put to use, kind of solving relatively more mundane situations, but no less important. Like you can solve things that avoid, diplomatic catastrophes or something like that. Like he could get clients. That would be interesting. He becomes like a consulting diplomat or something, solving issues. So it wouldn't just be about murder cases. It would be like, okay, how do we solve this issue where this guy this Klingon murdered like 10 guys in a public square? Something like that. All right, something like that. I know that's not as exciting in the mind of the modern writer, because the modern writer is like, oh, there needs to be explosions and big wars and galaxy level stakes. Like, no, they don't. You don't have to do that. In fact, now the argument could be made, but here's the thing, though. The argument could be made that as we progressed over time, the idea of smaller, more contained, more like ground level storytelling is how we evolved over time. So this is not me saying this. A professor actually mentioned this. I thought it was kind of interesting. And see what you think. But the thing is, what he argued was that if you look over time, from the beginning of storytelling till now, overall storytelling has evolved into smaller stories. What I mean by that is, in the beginning, our first stories about gods and demigods and these larger than life figures, battling in the trenches at Troy, that sort of thing. Then we kind of evolved. And if you look over of our stories over time, it gets more personal, like on more of a grounded, more personal level. So it stops being about gods and becomes more and more about the individual. And so you might think that's better or worse or whatever. But that is how, over the course of centuries and I guess millennia, our storytelling has evolved. So it kind of put side by side, here's Odysseus, here's Troy, and then all the way over here is like Pulp Fiction. that's something like that, where it's about. It goes from the great leaders of Greece charging against the leaders of Troy and overcoming those walls and ending up victorious. And then we go to Butch and his watch, right? That sort of thing. So it's not that that either of them are bad or better than the other. It's the fact that we have become more appreciative of the individual as we have gone on. We put more faith in normal people, or we want to see the mundane given a fantastical flourish. The regular dude named Butch in Pulp Fiction is suddenly caught up in gang warfare and all that stuff. So it's really interesting like that. It's really interesting to see that kind of evolution. And like, wow, it's true. It's right. So going back to mention the point, just because the idea that what I had for Picard and what Picard to me should have been, just because it's not about galaxy level stakes does not mean it's going to be boring. The smaller story is actually something we have been gearing towards for a long time. Like this, as opposed to hero, the Game of Thrones versus A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, right? Game of Thrones is more like that whole Odysseus thing. I guess the old school style story where we have grand sweeping epics. Lord of the Rings is like this too. So again, it's not like we have stopped. It's the fact that we have evolved into kind of appreciating the individual more. But we have Game of Thrones versus The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Game of Thrones is that epic sweeping storyline. It's huge. It's like gods and kings kind of war over the entire planet almost. Versus Night of the Seven Kingdoms / Hedge Knight, which is just about a dude who's in his personal goal to become a knight. And people love that. People love it. It's not about in the grand scheme of things, it's a step down, right? It's not as big of a story as a Game of Thrones, but people love it all the same. So it's a much smaller scale story, but people love it. And so the idea that Picard had to be this grand sweeping epic about synths and all that stuff, not really the case. He could have had it where it's just a normal, everyday, week-to-week adventure where he settles more mundane aspects, but the fantastical element of it being led by Picard of the Enterprise would make it awesome. And not just because he's already popular, but I mean, even if it wasn't Picard, right? It was just some guy who was a retired expert would just make it interesting regardless. Like, I want to see this master kind of handle these situations that are more mundane, but the mundane people handling them can't handle them. I mean, that would have been pretty cool. I think that's kind of where it should have gone. Skip Cole, so too says movie Logan perfect of addition to story. Yes, Logan was really good. I really liked the movie Logan, even though it was like dour and depressing. I really liked the movie. It was just kind of regulated down to Logan and his little group of misfits that are kind of left over, and it was pretty good. I liked Logan quite a bit. Let's see. Loom Fence is even like James Joyce. Yes, James Joyce's Ulysses. Yes, like there's a whole generation of bad writers by making the stream of conscious work. Yeah, Ulysses is a very interesting piece of work because it really shouldn't work. It really was stream of consciousness, that sort of thing. But it was a very, for some reason, influential work. It's very influential. James Joyce, although it was like James Joyce was a master, so his work, his stream of consciousness work, way better than most people would be able to pull off because James Joyce was a master. James Joyce is where we got the Hero's Journey's name from, original name, which was the monomyth. Like James Joyce came up with the term monomyth. Joseph Campbell took that idea and applied it to his work as well. Like, this is the monomyth. Is it? So Ulysses, I think it was Ulysses that actually inspired Joseph Campbell to do that. So thing is, was it weird? Yes. But James Joyce was a master of his craft. And so he made it work. Now, other writers who have kind of, done the same, again, it's kind of like with the Joss Whedon dialogue. Like James Joyce could do it, not because he's James Joyce, but because he's James Joyce. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So he was good at what he did. He was a master of his craft. Now, just because you do a stream of consciousness thing does not mean it's going to be good. You have to be a good writer to pull it off. A good writer can pull off a lot of things normally seen as insane or impossible. But yeah, Ulysses is an interesting piece of work. Very interesting. Lady Fastslot, let's share $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Oh my god! And see, Lady Fastslot says, I nominate series from the Gara franchise, Gara the animated series, Gara the Vanishing Line. Since LD likes Berserk and Claymore, I actually like Claymore in some aspects more than Berserk, but Berserk is carries a lot. But I do like Claymore quite a bit. In fact, Claymore was more of a inspiration to me for overall than Berserk has been. Claymore was also another inspiration for how witches are handled in Lady Midnight, for example. But I have made other stories inspired by Claymore. I really like that anime Claymore a lot. Let's see. It's similar to in the dark horror genre, alt and nomination Full Metal Panic. Okay, Full Metal Panic I do know about. Thank you very much, Lady Fastlot. Appreciate it. Let's see. All right. Alex Haley to 10 cheers. By the way, LD, the new Fate episode has confirmed that Waver is a 4chaner. Yes, saw that just this morning. Like, not just like a hint or something. It's like he's literally a 4chaner, turns out. You mentioned that they even showed the website, which is pretty funny. So I know he was so based. Thank you much, Alex Salo. Appreciate it. And then Normal Man, thank you much for the $5 super chat. Says Epic Isekai versus that time I had a heart attack and now I run a bar in the world. Yeah, big difference. A big difference. Like we went from Isekai like Escaflowne, and then even heck Dot Hack Sign, which is one of the ones I saw growing up, which I really enjoyed was Dot Hack Sign. Because you look at Dot Hack Sign versus what we have now, at least Dot Hack Sign might have some goofy moments, but I mean at least everyone take it seriously. Like everyone, like the writer take it seriously, the characters take it seriously. Like it all meshes together, as opposed to what we have now, which is like, oh yeah, that time I had a heart attack and now I run a bar in another world. It's all goofy. It feels very goofy nonsense where like the author seems like he's in on the joke with you. Like, oh yeah, this is the tropes. The main protagonist is OP. He gets a harem of big boobed elf girls or whatever, and he's completely a nice guy. That's it. He's just awkward but nice. That's about it. And then everyone just loves him because of that. And every issue that pops up, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just use my OP ability to get through it." And it's really satisfying to see him get through it with the OP ability, because usually they make the bad guys so irredeemably evil that you kind of want someone to go in there and defeat them, which is how you could get like someone like Superman or Ip Man to be an effective hero in some circumstances. You just kind of make the bad guys so evil. You don't really care about the growth of the main character. You just kind of want someone to sweep in and save the day. Yeah, very different. Like, it's not taken as seriously, and people aren't written as realistically. Now, Dot Hack Sign, for example, everything was in there. Everyone had their own like identity, their own character, their own past, their own grievances, their own wants and needs and desires. It was really interesting, and that's kind of one of the things I liked about Dot Hack Sign specifically, was that the whole MMORPG thing, the whole fantasy world was kind of on the side as an interesting factor, as opposed to the main interesting factor, which was the real lives of these characters and how the real lives going to feed into why they play this game so much. And also why they're all gung-ho about solving the mystery of Aura and Tsukasa and all that stuff like that. So it's interesting stuff. It was interesting stuff. So this is kind of why I don't really like a lot of isekai, and I find it kind of foolish in a lot of situations, because I've been comparing them to how they handle things in Dot Hack Sign, because Dot Hack Sign has a very similar setup to a lot of these isekai. No, I'm trapped in the video game. Oh my goodness. There's a deeper mystery there. The characters feel more well-rounded and real, as opposed to just like, oh, this person is klutzy girl, and this is a girl who is just emotionally distant girl. So like the characters in modern isekai, even though the setup is quite similar, they all seem a lot more shallow and two-dimensional, as opposed to these other characters who I don't really see them fitting in tropes in a Dot Hack Sign. They kind of fit personalities, like they feel like people as opposed to tropes. Where modern isekai, everyone feels like a trope. Okay, here's this guy, here's this guy, here's this guy. So it's very different, I would say. Yeah, very different in construction and how things are handled. You can see your chat. Mega Spidey Man, actually the 5 are those euros? what are your thoughts on Lord of the Rings news? Do you have a few show revival, or one you'd like to be revived? If done well, yeah. Favorite anime? Lord of the Rings. So last Lord of the Rings news I saw was that Jackson was making a new Lord of the Rings based on a few select chapters of the book, The Fellowship of the Ring. If that's the news, but also that for some reason Stephen Colbert is on the project. Like, why is Stephen Colbert of all people? Why is it going to be like a slapstick comedy version? What's going on? Even then, is Colbert even funny? Because as far as I know, he has. Is he funny without writers? Is he? Does he have any sort of talent besides outside of his writing staff? Like, what's going on here? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Does he have any sort of like a power besides? Is he a Lord of the Rings fanatic or something I didn't know about? I don't know. Do you have a favorite show revival? Or one you'd like to be revived if done very well? Let me see here. Now one of my favorite shows from antiquity was La Femme Nikita, but they did that, and it was awful. They revived La Femme Nikita with a new show starring Maggie Q. This called Nikita. It was some Mary Sue nonsense. I couldn't watch it. It was so bad. But if they did it well, I would like that, because man, the original La Femme Nikita from Canada, starring Peta Wilson, awesome, really, really good, really, really good. And then favorite anime, that depends on what topic it is I'm looking for. So one of my favorite anime is Rurouni Kenshin, because of the whole redemption arc. The basically he becomes a lawful good protagonist, or maybe neutral good, I guess. It's more just about being good now, and all the struggles, the clashing of philosophy, all that stuff. I really like the premise of Rurouni Kenshin and everything. But in terms of shonen anime, I guess I prefer like Yu Yu Hakusho over Dragon Ball Z for the most part. Yu Yu Hakusho is fantastic. Ghost in the Shell, I really enjoyed Ghost in the Shell in all aspects. I even have the manga, due to its speculative nature. Like it was really good. I really enjoyed that fact, and to the point where I actually sent my artist the concept character of Motoko Kusanagi. Like I sent him Motoko Kusanagi as like a kind of a baseline, and foolishly, that was not the correct thing, because for Lady Midnight, and that was not the correct thing I should have done. I should have sent him apparently I should have started sending him things from Hellsing, because it turns out that later on I started it turns out that I was more inspired by Hellsing than a lot of other anime I thought I was inspired by for this thing. But yeah, Hellsing is one of my all-time favorites. Now, I like the anime Hellsing, but Hellsing Ultimate is really good. I prefer that one. I even have the Hellsing, not only the Hellsing manga, I have the Hellsing Ultimate Edition. So I have it's got fancy red covers and stuff like that. So Hellsing is right up my alley. It's one of my all-time favorites. I really like Hellsing quite a bit. Let's see here, but it all depends. Like I really like Claymore. I really like Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Ghost in the Shell movie, and Ghost in the Shell Innocence, all for separate reasons. Ghost in the Shell, the movie, really cool mystery going on where they're fighting the Laughing Man. No, the Puppet Master. That's really good. It's got a lot of cool sequences in there, from like this mundane detective work to just she's fighting a tank at the end. All for their own reasons. It's really interesting stuff because it goes into the idea of existence and humanity, what makes you human, things like that. Standalone Complex is fun because this is a bunch of mysteries where we actually get to see Section 9 work. Some of the mysteries are interconnected. Some of them are standalone. So I like it for that reason, and the interactions between characters and stuff like that. End of the season 1 of Ghost in the Shell Complex was Standalone Complex. Awesome. Like it's about the government trying to assassinate Section 9 because they've been exposed. And then the Individual 11, I think, was the next one. And then or also Ghost in the Shell Innocence, which doesn't really have Kusanagi in there for most of the movie. It's about Bato and his sidekick, Togusa, trying to take down the puppeteer, like they're the same bad guy almost. The puppeteer versus the puppet master, or something like that. And so it turns out that there's and this plot point has been done over and over again since, but it turns out that a company was using like the brains or the personalities of children and inputting them into illegal sex robots and making them into like little service geishas and stuff like that. And that's kind of what the whole thing was, that they kidnapped all these children and they're turning them into like these sex robots and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it begins. And it's about taking them down. Now they kind of copied this storyline for Revengeance, Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. It's kind of the same thing, where they're kind of putting the brains of children into like soldiers and stuff, or at least people or something like that. It's crazy stuff. Let's see. Ghost of the Shell is awesome. I like Ghost of the Shell quite a bit. It's just it didn't turn out to be the inspiration I thought it was for my story Late at Midnight. But it's great. I have all the stuff. It was one of my earliest, most famous, most center favorite anime into the speculative side of cyberpunk and all that stuff. But one of the other things that I really enjoyed, of course, is Cowboy Bebop, Dot Hack Sign, and of course, Samurai Champloo, one of my favorite ones of all time. Samurai Champloo, I really like that one. Let's see. All right, here we go.
Without an ounce of talent or experience to their names, desperate attempts to pander to an intellectually stunted Gen Z audience that has as much interest in Star Trek as I do with experimental feminist theatre, and rounded out with some of the worst set design, direction, and performances in the entire 60-year history of the franchise. And the results? A one-way ticket to Cancellation Town, baby. Population, Starfleet Academy.
Oh no! What happened?
That's right. Much to everyone's non-surprise, and to the dismay of literally dozens of people who claim to be fans on social media, the news broke last night that Paramount had wisely decided to flush this laughable turd of a show down the refuse chute of entertainment history at their earliest possible convenience. Which in this case means at the end of Season 2, which is only getting made because it was already commissioned before Season 1 even came out.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Damn, man. Talk about counting your chickens before they've hatched. These guys were counting them before the hens even started fucking. Now, remember how I said that Skydance buying over Paramount late last year was probably going to lead to some major changes once all the formalities were out of the way? David Ellison and his buddies had some breathing room to evaluate their lineup of projects, and that the first target for cancellation should absolutely be Star Trek? Well, there you go. Actually, now that I think about it, someone should probably do a wellness check on Robert Picardo. That dude looked more drunk than me even before the news broke. Oh, steady there, big man. Anyway, let us see what Paramount has to say about the matter. Quote, "We're incredibly proud of the ambition, passion, and creativity that went into bringing Star Trek's Starfleet Academy to life." Are you?
I mean, did Barbara Picardo like get drunk or something and then start going crazy?
Why? What part of it are you most proud of? The 51% audience score? The fact that it barely even made a ripple on your own streaming platform? The absolute mockery that it earned from the entire internet? The $100 million of badly needed cash that you flushed down the shitter to make this thing happen? Not to mention the tens of millions you still have to pour into Season 2?
Great plan.
Thank you. He likes your plan, Chief.
You know, it's worth pointing out that you could have made 6 Godzilla -1s for the cost of just a single season of Academy and still had enough left over to take the entire production team on a 2-week vacation to Hawaii. The series introduced audiences to a bold new group of characters, welcomed familiar faces, and expanded the Star Trek universe in exciting
Look at all these chickens. Yeah, what was that video of him like with chickens?
new ways.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Tell me, which new character was your favorite? The body-positive hologram with learning difficulties? The other body-positive cadet with learning difficulties who managed to swallow her own communicator somehow? I don't think anyone wants to crawl through her Jeffrey's tube. The body-positive officer in charge of physical fitness who looks like climbing a flight of stairs would involve making camp for the night and trying for the top the following morning? You know, I think I'm spotting spotting a bit of a theme here. The captain who treats the bridge of a starship like a charming little book and coffee shop in Portland. The gay, sensitive, dress-wearing Klingon born from a polyamorous relationship that...
I heard he came from like a polyamorous family. The thing that's what Klingons are about, because I don't think it is. It's very interesting because we got to see a lot of this in DS9, like a lot of this fleshed out in DS9, because there's an episode called like the House of Quark or something like that, where Quark killed this one guy and is able to take over his house because he killed him in what is in honorable combat. Now the idea is that did he kill him in honorable combat? Then okay, then you can take over his house and take his wife. Did you kill him outside of honorable combat? Right? Then the wife gets to take over, right? So it's very interesting. But the enemies of that house, the enemies of the house of the guy that Quark killed, I went to Quark and to trick him into claiming that he had killed the guy in honorable combat. Right, so there's no vengeance against Quark. And that's kind of what we threatened him with, like, oh, you didn't kill him in honorable combat. Well, then I have to get revenge against you and I'll kill you now. Oh, it was honorable combat. Oh, then I don't get to do revenge. And you get to take over his house and stuff. And so that whole thing is about, the politics of the Klingon Empire and how that house situation is handled. And eventually, they're able to win out in the end because they found out that the bad guy was scheming and plotting. And so Quark, challenged him to combat and then surrendered, and the guy was going to kill him and was able to point out that, oh, you're going to kill a kneeling, pathetic man? Well, then you lose. Get out of here. There's no honor in that. And so they win, and then I think Grilka, I think her name was Grilka, the woman, the wife, divorced Quark on the spot because that's what they both wanted. But the thing is, Klingon women can divorce the husbands, and I don't really think that there was ever mentioning that Klingon men took more than one wife or anything like that. I don't think so. Let's see. Leaf says, I would rather watch Paul Giamatti and John Adams miniseries than this. I would have more fun and not lose IQ points. That Paul Giamatti is a lot of fun to watch in most things that he's in. Yeah, in fact, I watched him in here. He's really fun in here too. He's Paul Giamatti. Like, it's really hard not to find him entertaining. Really good stuff.
Relationship that... fuck it. I just can't with this show, man. We're grateful to Alex Kurtzman, Noga Landau, Gaia Violo, and the entire cast and crew who pushed storytelling boundaries in the spirit of Gene Roddenberry's vision.
Oh, bullshit. All of it.
Oh dear, someone's telling porky pies, aren't they? This vacuous, childish, incompetent replication of Star Trek would be enough to make Gene Roddenberry go... And yeah, I used that scene because it still haunts me to this goddamn day. I think we both know that if I was to go to his grave and play an episode of Starfleet Academy loudly enough, I'm pretty sure he'd rise from the ground, driven by pure rage at what had been done to his creation, and hunt down every single person involved in it. Pray that I do not enact such a Machiavellian scheme. I think my favourite part of this might be the final sentence, though. We look forward to sharing the upcoming second and final season with everyone and continuing to celebrate the cast, crew, and all that was accomplished with this series.
You sure about that?
I really don't think you want to be talking about Starfleet Academy in terms of accomplishments, lads. The fact is, you gambled this entire project on one thing, the modern audience, and you lost. Big time. Why? Because you gambled on something that never even existed. It was nothing but a smokescreen, don't you know? The tiny minority of moronic, terminally online activists who make the most noise on social media aren't loyal fans of your franchise that'll support your product, or even consumers that can be exploited for money, because they have none. And if they did, they wouldn't give it to you, that's for fucking sure.
As we've seen, this has been confirmed. The modern audience is not going to fork over any of their money. They will, however, follow you and like and retweet your stuff, and then wish list your game, but they're not going to buy your game. They're going to buy your comic. They're going to buy tickets to your movie, and they're going to buy a subscription platform to watch your stuff. They're just not going to do it. And so Falcon says, "Good morning, LD and BezChat. Good morning to you, Sissy Falcon. Good morning to you. Good morning to you." Let's see. By the way, they might actually. It's very possible that the modern audience does support the stuff that they report to like. But if that's the case, then the modern audience is such a minuscule portion of the audience that they're barely worth mentioning. Like they're very loud, but they're not really worth catering to, because either they don't spend money on your stuff, or which is why they don't like capitalism, because they want socialism so that their emotions can drive what matters as opposed to the money. And so that's why capitalism is such a threat to them. But either they don't support what they say they support with their money, or they do, and there's so minuscule an audience, they're barely worth a mention. Anyway, chat. Anyway, let's go to the real video by Call Me Chato, where he goes over why Project Hail Mary may have saved Star Wars. This is an interesting prospect, given what we know. So with that setup, let's go over here, chat. Let's go over here and see what Call Me Chato has to say. And I always like his voice because he was a former producer, and he has some knowledge as to how the industry works behind the scenes. Is always valuable to me. Nathaniel Zozo Ball says, "I do not believe shows like these days manage to make it 2 seasons. They don't, not organically. They book for season 1 and split it in half so they can say a show was good enough for 2 seasons. That's kind of what they want. So there's a lot of what they really like are these fake victory moments. It's kind of why they're obsessed with firsts, right? They're obsessed with firsts. First gay woman to play a Star Trek background character, stuff like that. There's so many qualifications there, but they really like celebrating their firsts. The first black man to kiss another black man in Star Trek, something like that. They love that stuff. So with that same mentality where they kind of go in there and say, well, look, see, it didn't get stopped after 1 season. It was popular enough to get 2. It's why the Acolyte burns so badly in their minds, because Acolyte only got 1 season, so it is, and it was canceled after that. So it is an unquestionable failure. And they hate that. They learn from Acolyte. So they learn to split things into 2 seasons, I guess. At least get 2 seasons so they can say, oh, look, it wasn't a failure. It was a failure. Why did it last 2 seasons? They like to do that. That's kind of what they prefer to do. That's kind of why that's kind of why they did it with Willow, where they had Willow with 1 season, right? And then they wiped it off Disney Plus. It's an embarrassment because they could not go through with the 2nd season on that thing. So rather than trying to spend the millions of dollars they would have to drop to get us the 2nd season of Willow on a show that nobody watches, they decided to wipe it off the platform, because leaving it up there as a failed show with only 1 season is just too much. They can't do that. It's too much of an L.
Oh, denizens of the internet and residents of this giant ball of stone and water flying through space. Well, I've been thinking some more about Project Hail Mary, a movie I loved, combined with a discussion I had recently where I had mentioned that it would have been nice if Star Trek had continued to be the television bridge between sci-fi books and movies. Of course, it goes without saying that the sci-fi aspect of Star Trek vanished with the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie and has been relegated to milk cartons asking if anyone has seen the real Star Trek and could they please call the published helpline. Look, I'm not here to relitigate the shortcomings of Kurtzman Trek. I wanted to talk about this, I think, pleasant and interesting notion I have that Project Hail Mary is essentially the Star Trek we fans have been longing for. And I'm talking about the movie here and not the book, which I have not read, but I understand is filled with way more technical jargon.
In fact, Sherman Tony says, in fact, I'm going to be the first person to leave for breakfast. Have a great day, LD in chat. Good morning to Shoving Chunks. Have a great breakfast. It's Tim Turner says they need to preserve the narrative above all else. Yeah, that's kind of what they're concerned with. They're more concerned with the narrative and how things look than actual facts. So even though a show failed, they want to have 2 seasons. A movie could fail. They want to have good ratings or something like that. So they'll spend more money to pump up something to make it seem popular or seem effective. Say, oh look, the critics love this thing, so it had to have been good, right? And it was woke. So woke things are good. They need examples to prove that their ideology is the correct one, that their ideology is popular, that their ideology is winning. And so they make fake evidence. They kind of doctor evidence to give them power. Like, oh, look, see, that one did really, really well. And it was super duper woke. So obviously this ideology is at the very least not an issue. It absolutely is.
Jargon and maths. The movie reminded me in many ways of the TOS episode, The Devil in the Dark, featuring the non-verbal silicon-based life forms called Hortas. The Enterprise is summoned to Perigeum mining colony on Janus 6, where workers are being mysteriously killed by a creature described as a monster or devil. The miners are terrified, production is halted, and they demand the creature be destroyed immediately. Captain Kirk, Spock, and the security teams, beam down to investigate, but they quickly discover the creature is not a mindless beast, but a highly intelligent silicon-based life form called a Horta, a rock-like being that can tunnel through solid rock at high speed and secretes a powerful acid. The Horta is protecting something extremely valuable to her species. The episode explores themes of misunderstanding, prejudice, and the ethics of first contact. Kirk and Spock realize the miners have been unwittingly destroying the Horta's eggs, which look like silicon nodules. Driving.
And see, that person says, let's be fair, even actual good shows get canceled too soon. There's more. Yeah, this was it the most. I think the most legendary one of these is Firefly, right, which has been in the news recently. But the thing is, if this happened back in the day, when shows and movies had to kind of stand on their own, and there was not this big, giant industry kind of floating and artificially promoting and standing the certain movies they need to succeed, certain movies they need to be a victory, or shows they need to be a victory, where they kind of like, oh, this is empowerment, like the Rings of Power is empowerment and all this stuff, right? So of course they need this thing to be a success. So they're going to report it being amazing. They're going to make propaganda videos where we add in super fans. But yeah, now today, because of streaming and Netflix and everything, companies will just order 2 seasons. I think there used to be 3 seasons ahead of time. So a show will go on 3 seasons, no matter what happens, no matter how much people hate it, it's going to get 3 seasons. However, unfortunately for them, things have degraded to such an extent that now each season is maybe 8 episodes, and they're more cautious now because there's so many streaming platforms. People are split so much. There's not as much as a gold rush as there used to be. Now I know this because there are guys that give interviews that have experienced this gold rush era, right? The Netflix, like at the beginning, when the streaming wars were happening, lots of all these guys, a lot of these streaming platforms were just eating up content. Like they would just almost produce anything because they all need original content to be on the streaming platforms to get that dollar from the streaming audience. And he talks about this to the point where the people that were kind of screening projects and stories were telling some people how to pitch it to them so that they can accept it. Of course, I think it was like more on the lines of like politics. Like, it's a woman. Okay, we want to take your story. So we're going to tell you how to pitch it to us so that we can accept it and say yes. Very valuable, but they're kind of just stacking the deck, right? But the thing is, that's what it used to be like, where this big gold rush where they kind of publishing anything and trying to make anything to get original content on their platform. So they would order, they would pick up pretty much anything and would order seasons at a time to get them all in production to keep their streaming platform alive. But now the gold rush is kind of dead. The gold rush kind of went away. I think it's having a resurgence, but it kind of died for a while. And this has kind of made the slowdown with the stream platforms where they kind of are more timid about ordering like a whole series at once. This is kind of how you get only one season of Willow or one season of Acolyte. And how everything is like a lot slower now in production because they want to pour money into making things good or look good as opposed to a lot of it. I think it's kind of seems where it's going, to make sure that they like the season first, and then they're going to put more money and effort into making season 2 and season 3. So there's that. But back in the day, when the movies and TV shows had to kind of stand on their own, and people were more ruthless about it. Back in the day, that's kind of when we could get like a good TV show getting canceled too early because the ratings weren't there. People loved it, but the ratings weren't there. It's kind of how we got cult classics, where people love this thing, but the ratings weren't there. Again, we get a lot of people who love it very passionately, but not a lot of people. It didn't have like general appeal to have millions and millions and millions and millions of people, but it might have had like 500,000 or something like that. So, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And Fox was notorious for this, right? I think Fox was notorious for his cutting off shows too early, ruining them, and not having them for sale anywhere afterwards.
Her to defend her young and desperate, grief-fueled rampage. The devil is actually a grieving mother. This, to me, was Star Trek at its very best. It's also fantastic science fiction. The parallels between PHM and the Devil in the Dark are, quite stunning. A silicon-based life form, nonverbal, intelligent, and it didn't have eyes. Instead, the Horta perceives its surroundings through a combination of vibration, sensitivity, chemical detection, and it was implied that echolocation, like sonar via its rock-like body, was also used. Coincidence? Hey, I'm not here to accuse Andy Weir of purloining anything. You understand. I'm just kidding, Andy. To be honest, Project Hail Mary would have to be dumbed down even more to be a Star Trek because, well, number one, it had to fit the 1 hour format, which would actually be only about 45 minutes of actual content time. And because Roddenberry expressly did not want jargon in the show. He did not want the show turned into Carl Sagan's Cosmos. Look, okay, I'm paraphrasing, of course. Cosmos didn't appear until 1980. The thing is, pre-Kurtzman Trek, there were efforts to make Star Trek feel science real. Voyager actually, well, it had a surprising amount of jargon. As I've noted many times in the past, Kurtzman Trek wouldn't know physics if a double slit experiment gave Alex a wedgie in a dark alley. But if you think about it, it's really not hard to imagine the Enterprise arriving in a part of the galaxy where suns are dying from some illness.
It's a type of, I'll never forgive Fox for canceling Almost Human. That sounds familiar. Which one was that? But I do know that Fox canceled a lot of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, that's so familiar. Carl Urban was the main character. That makes sense. I kind of remember this a little bit in terms of concept and title, but I don't remember seeing the show very much. I don't remember that at all. But I do know there's a lot of Fox series that are really good. I think Firefly still is the most infamous
of some kind, and the intrepid team tries to figure out what the solution would be, whereby they'd encounter a creature like Rocky, who's also trying to solve the problem.
I like to say that there's 10 years Disney went out of its way to get the Tron animated series canceled by making so the only time it was allowed to be shown was on Sunday at 12 a.m. Who's going to watch it then? Well, technically that would make Monday, I guess. Yeah, Monday. Here's the funny part, though, is that I don't know. Disney is horrible for this, isn't it? Like, is Disney is horrible for this sort of behavior? Because I do remember the whole debacle about 2D versus 3D animation, and that the Disney really wanted to pump more money to 3D and promote more 3D movies versus 2D movies. So they sabotaged, what was it, Treasure Planet? Sorry, that they sabotage these movies because and so that they can point to and say, oh, see, no one wants 2D movies anymore. No one wants 2D stuff anymore. Everyone's 3D stuff. So they had the result. They had the conclusion before they had the evidence. They had their favorite conclusion, and they kind of manufactured the evidence to support it, which is really nasty. And then it really kind of changed the landscape of our entertainment, because after that, it's like, oh, well, 3D's in, 2D's out, which was not the case at all.
There wouldn't be the extended attempt to learn how to communicate with it. And that's why you have Spock there with his mind meld, or Geordi using his visor if the universal translator didn't work. And all that hanging out the spaceship, with the cosmic light show, collecting the bacteria that would eventually kill the mold that's attacking the stars. I mean, that would pretty much be handled exactly the same way. I mean, we'd have the shuttle that was losing orbit and then, starting to heat up and potentially crash into the planet it's orbiting. I mean, all that stuff would be very similar to what's happening in the movie. I mean, so that part of the movie, that was pure adventure and excitement. It was total Star Trek. So based on the first weekend numbers, the movie looks to be a smash hit. Maybe many of us are starved for decent Trek, so starved for decent Trek that we have
See, Chado was making the same argument as I did, or at least a similar argument. Check this out.
Potentially crash into that would pretty much be handled exactly. Learn how to communicate with it, and that's why you have Spock there with.
So he's talking about like the idea that Star Trek used to be about these interesting situations where they go in there and that there's a conflict there that seems pretty interesting, like a murder or whatever. And then they go with it, but the conflict is very much Star Trek. It is going in there and negotiating with a new life form or handling some sort of ethical situation or something like that. And today, these sorts of storytelling ideas would be unpopular because they're not just Marvel style fighting bad guys and handling the space monstrosity of the week. Or not even the week. The entire season has to be this big sprawling epic, which is it's pretty fun for something like 24 to do, or something like that, or a sprawling epic of Game of Thrones. But it's not necessarily something that might fit in Star Trek. Now, I guess you could, technically speaking, have a big season-long stories like they did in DS9. But even DS9 had episodic stories within the major arc of the story. So you had like a few episodes might be self-contained little adventures that kind of added to an overarching story. But today they kind of want every single episode to be a little chunk of an overarching story, as opposed to like a chapter inside of it. So it's like one long movie separated, chopped up into episodes versus here's an episode that is surrounding them being in like the Dominion War, right? And this is kind of how you get things like the Pale Moonlight, the Siege of AR or something, and things like that. So they're not like a big chopped up movie. They are little snippets and stories that happen during the Dominion War, which is pretty cool. But he's talking about like old school Star Trek, where every episode's about some interesting prospects and some new alien race or whatever. And I was kind of arguing that it doesn't have to be about big galaxy-wide stakes. You could have smaller, more contained stories, self-contained stories, and still have it be interesting and worthy of investment, without it having to be, oh, here's another galaxy-wide issue that we have to handle, which is kind of what happened with Picard. Like it became about the prospect of synths and this world-shattering news and all that stuff. So it's not, and then Picard became a robot or something like that. It was weird. And see, Lady Fazza says, "Well, I'm a ginormous back catalog to finish for the set on the seven Cs, and also a lot of games to try. It has been something really special to me to get my attention limited, to give my attention in limited time. Yeah, there's a lot of old stuff out there." And see, yeah, didn't Disney do something similar to the Spectacular Spider-Man, just airing episodes randomly on Disney XD, the equivalent of Nicktoons network? Yeah, it's like companies have done this for a while. They know how to sabotage something and go, "Oh, look, see, it didn't sell. People didn't like it." Like they're kind of forced to put on there, even though the showrunner or whoever's in charge does not like it. But they'll sabotage and say, "Oh, look, it didn't work. I don't know what to tell you."
His mind meld, or Geordi using his visor if the universal translator didn't work, and all that hanging out the spaceship, with the cosmic light show collecting the bacteria that would eventually kill the mold that's attacking the stars. I mean, that would pretty much be handled exactly the same way. I mean, we'd have the shuttle that was losing orbit and then, starting to heat up and potentially crash into the planet it's orbiting. I mean, all that stuff would be very similar to what's happening in the movie. I mean, so that part of the movie.
Yeah, you could definitely do it. I don't mind. So Benjamin Vet says, I don't mind a show with a meta plot spread over a season, LD, like the mystery of Kate Beckett's mother in Castle Hoyever. To lift from Ryan Hollander, each episode should be self-contained. Yeah, each episode should be kind of self-contained. Like that's kind of what they did DS9. Like every episode is more or less self-contained, but it's a little snippet in their much larger arc. It's kind of how they handle that. But yeah, even then you can have like the big sprawling epic where the entire season is essentially one big movie and everything kind of leads into the next episode. Anime does this all the time. But the way the Western writers tend to handle it is it's the way Alan Moore mentioned it working in comics, and how he decided to, look down his nose at modern day graphic novels, because as he says, modern day graphic novels are not graphic novels. Like modern day graphic novels are just 12 issues of She-Hulk kind of smashed together. And that's not a graphic novel. All right, graphic novels are a novel, not just like a collection of stories. So that's kind of how that's supposed to go. It's supposed to be a novel, all right? Was kind of a similar idea, where you kind of it's like, okay. So here's the thing: those 12 issues. The reason why that's bad is because those 12 issues are kind of like a novel chopped up in 12 pieces, and a novel doesn't always it's not always about some pounding issues. They're always about the next conflict. So there are lulling moments in a novel that are kind of maybe boring or lackluster without action, because we're taking a dip in the action between scenes. So you might get like the eating scene or something. However, the reason why this is relevant and why this is kind of gets even on Alan Moore's nerves is because they think of it like that, in terms of one big story. They're chopping it into 12 chapters. And so, issue 1 might be gung-ho and full of energy, and there's here's where the inciting conflict and incident and all that stuff. The chapter in issue 2 will be the resolution of that first conflict. And then issue 3 will be a lull and nothing happens, because that's kind of how novels work. And then issue 4 might be a lull and nothing happens, and might cut off prematurely because we only get 24 pages or 22 pages or 20 pages or whatever it might be. And then issue 4 might pick up again. So this is kind of what he was talking about, I think, where it's like it feels like a 12 issues rather than a novel. Even though they're trying to make it into a novel, it's like they still had to. It's a really big mixed match of things. Yes, they're trying to make an overarching novel out of 12 pieces, or like 12 chapters, but also they're trying to have the mentality of making a issue from month to month. And so they'll get both the idea of we got to have a artificial incident, but also it's a novel, so we got to have lulling moments. Like even V for Dead and Watchmen have these little downtime moments. So this is how you get like entire issues that you have to buy each month where nothing happens, because that's how they work. But instead, what they should be doing is every single issue needs to give us a new chunk of the incident, a new piece of the overarching story, not just be like, okay, here's the part that if you imagine it being condensed into a graphic novel, here's like the lulling part. So you get 20 something pages of nothing happening. It's kind of how they go. So it's kind of really messy, as opposed to here's the full chunk of the novel. Here's the full novel. There you go. No month to month, no entire issues of dead weight, dead story. And they always go super unpacked the story, I guess you could say, or they kind of decompress the narrative to the point where we're going along. Here's the next issue, the next detail. They're staying a very long time on the scene, so we kind of linger on scenes that don't really need to be lingered on because that's cool in some of their minds. Because I don't know, the Coen brothers do it, so just linger on scenes that have far outstayed their welcome, and they'll give us scenes that they think feel profound but are not. And then, of course, like we saw in Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, they'll give us gratuitous amounts of eating scenes. There's so many eating scenes, chat. There's so many eating scenes that don't really need to be there. Like, we didn't really need the Harley Quinn falls in love with an egg sandwich thing. That was just, it burned into my mind as something that, wow, I can't believe they did that. We have a lot of things going on in this movie. We don't have time to waste on Harley Quinn falling in love with an egg sandwich. Pretty sure. And see, Mr. Vet says, on that note, I'm interested in series based on mini arcs spread over 2 or 3 episodes, like a scaled down version of the Wire structure, and make syndication an issue though. So based on mini arcs spread over the 2 or 3 episodes, I think that might be more interesting, like a little self-contained story. It's like OVAs, right? You get like 2 or 3 like big chunky episodes, and that makes an entire storyline, entire narrative arc. Let's see. The Punisher game for 2005 is a good example. It has 3 storylines packed into one game. Yeah, that was good. I played that game so much. It was awesome because that's how I discovered the Punisher, was through that game. Let's see. Thomas Boyle says, I have a hypothetical for you that this has put into my head. Is Dune supposed to be made into anime? Internal monologue is littered throughout it, and Western media doesn't really do that. Not usually. This is like a first-person thing. Like the first Jack Reacher was Killing Floor, very much like that. But yeah, Dune does feel very epic and very different in terms of what your usual Western media book or novel will give you, and does feel very anime-esque. It really does. I mean, all the weird concepts and the spiritualism and stuff like that, it feels very Eastern as opposed to Western.
That was pure adventure and excitement. It was total Star Trek. So based on the first weekend numbers, the movie looks to be a smash hit. Maybe many of us are starved for decent Trek. So starved for decent Trek.
Miso Honey Cutie says, good morning, LD. Today's my birthday. Well, happy birthday to you, Miso Honey. And I'm starting off with a delicious French toast breakfast with a side of morning nonsense. Man, French toast was my favorite birthday. Actually, literally. When I was a kid, I used to have my mom make me French toast when I was a kid on my birthday. It was awesome. So, yeah, I do love me some French toast as well, especially as a birthday breakfast. It's peak, absolute peak. But happy birthday to you, Miso Honey Cutie. Hello to you, and happy birthday. Hope it's fantastic. Happy birthday to you. Hope it's awesome. Awesome. And I hope you're enjoying your side of morning nonsense.
That we have subconsciously adopted Project Hail Mary as the best Trek in recent memory. That would be a testament to the rejection of Kurtzman Trek that, we do want our sci-fi with more sci and a lot less fi, less gender confusion and endless exposition centered on feelings. It actually looks like there is an audience for good science fiction. But we were told, and even just recently by Kurtzman in the Saturn Awards, the importance of the modern audience. Wouldn't it be funny if Project Hail Mary was exactly what the modern audience has been wanting all this time? Damn.
I mean, big, intriguing, intellectual, philosophical, speculative exploration of the stories and what we would do when we encounter this sort of alien or that sort of alien or encounter this ethical situation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure people kind of like that.
It
Opposed to, what are my pronouns?
wasn't about projection, forced representation, and rainbows, but a good story, well told, about friendship, loss, and loyalty, mixed with good science fiction. It's shocking. That's all it took to bring people back to the theater. That was sarcasm if you didn't pick up on it. If you saw my last Star Trek video, I said I was optimistic that the franchise would survive the shitty little talentless usurper. I give you Exhibit A, Project Hail Star Trek, as an example of what the future of Trek could be. What do you think? Couldn't you see TOS or TNG? It feels like it in many ways. Anyways, that's my thought. What do you think? I look forward.
Yeah, so I think the point is that apparently Project Hail Mary is more speculative or intellectual. It's more less about gender confusion and exploration of your pronouns or whatever, and about less about guys eating comm badges, and then more about intellectual exploration, intellectual challenge, philosophical challenge, ethical challenge that people really liked about Star Trek to begin with. I think the downfall of Star Trek kind of came in with the TNG movies, because they were like, oh yes, the fans want Star Trek to be an action movie. Really? You think the fans wanted Picard running around with a gun? I don't think so. Anyway, chat, let's check out the dilemma with Crimson Desert and how the modern audience, speaking of the modern audience, don't really like the Crimson Desert. Check it out, chat. Check it out. And by the way, chat, we have not moved. We're still way far off from even the first Pillarman. So we have, let's check out the goal here. We have another 38 minutes on the 20 super chats. With we're at 5 out of 20. We're actually kind of 25% the way there. So getting pretty close, technically speaking. But we got 38 minutes to reach that goal. That it's very far off still, But anyway, I guess you don't want the extra Twitch stream. I guess you don't want the extra stuff. Anyway, chat. Here we go. Back to Crimson Desert. I just checked on everything. I just checked on the goal. So in fact, so far, if I combined yesterday and today, we still don't get Pillarman. That's how Super Chat light it's been. So yeah, the goal for extra Twitch stream really far off. Anyway, Crimson Desert is a definition of not for everyone. Man, Game Rant is triggered by this. Game Rant is triggered by Crimson Desert. It must be good. Let's see. Sip Coalition to Super Chat. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Let me see here.
Nice.
A great show today, LD. Nature is healing. It certainly is. It seems to be, because if the wokies and the mainstream media articles are this bitter over very successful games, then yeah, it's nature is healing and they're on the way out. It's kind of like I read that the New York Times article yesterday. You need that they're admitting, all right, they're admitting this stuff, that woke is losing control. Woke is slipping out of popularity and is losing their grip on America, and they are not having it. They just are not having it. They are not happy about this one bit. And so they're kind of like railing and reeling against all of this stuff. Crimson Desert is a definition of not for everyone, turns out.
Hey, what's up, guys? Ruff here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the current state of Crimson Desert a few days after its official release. Now, this game got off to a hot start, but it found some trouble thanks to very negative reviews provided by games journalists and a bunch of scrutiny provided by the usual suspects on social media. However, as the days have passed on since its official release, this game has actually attracted more and more concurrent player counts and more positive reviews because people are finding out the truth. This open world action adventure game that features no woke nonsense is actually very appealing to people once they give it a chance. However, on release, games journalists and activists on social media came out with a slew of incoherent complaints about this game, including complaints about...
It must be two super chats is May ants find their way into the wokies underpants. I hope so. I mean, I think that's happening already, considering how they've been acting. Pretty sure.
About a lack of diversity in the game, but here's the shocking part. It actually worked for a bit. At one point, this game was at a 50-50 reviewer rating on Steam. However, as the days have gone on and more people actually tried out this game instead of listening.
Okay, so I guess was Crimson Desert review bombed? Because they say that's a thing, right? They kind of always complain about, oh, the dude bros review bombed this movie, or review bombed this. And so every single website had to restructure everything so that the word of the people could not be exposed. But I bet you though that they would deny review bombing this. Like this, oh, you can't, because when we do it, it's definitely an issue. But when they do it, oh, that's impossible. No one can ever review bomb anything. But I'm pretty sure they review bombed a few things here with Crimson Desert. But as the day went on, as more and more people actually played it, it got more and more positive reviews. So it's doing pretty good now.
To journalists and activists, it's raised from about 50-50 to nearly 80%, a mostly positive set of reviews for this game, much to the dismay of woke journalists who are crashing out on social media now that this game...
Surely had no idea the loser gamer chuds were claiming Crimson Desert's success as anti-woke. Yeah, because if it's not woke, then it's an anti-woke victory. It's a victory against wokeness, because the woke agenda, the woke mandate is that everything must be woke. So if it's not woke, we win. If there's a victory of a game, a TV show, a movie, a book, comic book, whatever it might be, okay, if it's not woke, it doesn't have to be anti-woke. If it's just not woke and it's successful, we win. We get a victory. Victor Lamau, they just make up the weirdest nonsensical shit. Well, then why are you spurging out so much? Why are you so angry, bro? And say, whoa, Megalithon. Actually, the $50 super chat, Megalithon. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me see here. Here we go. It's $50 super chat. Stop the presses. Thank you very much, Megalithon. Very, very generous. Let me see here. Megalithon. Here we go. Here we go, chat. Today's episode of Morning Nonsense has been produced by the great Megalithon. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Megalithon. Megalithon says, sounds like we need an update on 2 government girlfriends. Well, there is no progress in the full World of Warcraft time. No new raid, really. A new raid, new dungeons, loot to be grabbed, and gold to be made. But fear not, I wrote down everyone's ideas from yesterday. Very cool, Megathon. Very cool. I don't even know how World of Warcraft is nowadays. I saw some stuff where it's about you get a new house, and it feels more Disney-esque now, where everyone's kind of getting along and being as unproblematic as possible. But I haven't dipped into World of Warcraft in a long time. I don't know how it's progressed. I have heard the complaints that it's become too casual friendly, because they need more money, I suppose. But other than that, I haven't really heard too much about it. But how are the things? How are the raids? Oh! I also heard that they turned Sylvanas Windrunner into a memory suit, which I guess, yeah, that makes sense considering how they set her up. Also, it's a shame though, because Sylvanas rebelled against a man. You know, a man enslaved her, and she rebelled against a man and fought back against him, and eventually had a hand in his end, I suppose. So it's like the ultimate feminist, catnip. But how she was set up in the original Warcraft 3, it was like downright Shakespearean. It was not about woman versus man and breaking through her chains and I am woman, here we roar. It was about a wronged elven woman who has now broken away from her Death Knight master and is able to lead an army of undead on her own and see what she does with it. And it's interesting. She didn't automatically turn to a good person because she's still kind of corrupted by evil. But she kind of doesn't do she doesn't want to serve the Lich King either, and definitely does not want to serve Arthas anymore. So she kind of goes off on her own and joins the Horde. Canonically, joins the Horde. But it's interesting. It's interesting what happens. She does get revenge on the humans, I guess, that failed her people, especially because she gets revenge on Garethos, and Garethos hates all non-humans. So I guess it makes sense. But other than that, they're making like just destroying Arthur's storyline, making Sylvanas a Mary Sue, making things more Disney-esque, and then also making more like The Sims as opposed to Warcraft, and more very, very Disney-esque. I don't really hear much about it. I do know that there was some good stuff, like a lot of good stuff that happened that were very interesting storylines. I have heard about that too. So it's not all bad stuff, but I have heard about all of that. It's the unfortunate issue. And see. And then David Musselman, like Fighter Twins says the game had a very confusing release. It's fun, but the controls are bad. It's not for everyone, but a lot of people like it. What's going on? Maybe it's like, I guess, a little bit of challenge. It might be the same reason why people like Baby Steps or Getting Over It. It's kind of like, it's a little bit, it's tough, but it's also just tough enough to be a challenge. And also it's not so tough that it's impossible in grading. I think that's what I'm assuming. Anyway,
has turned things around, including people like this saying the loser gamer chuds are celebrating this as an anti-woke.
Yeah, we won. This is a victory for us loser gamer chuds. So suck it, Andy Cortez. Suck it. This was an anti-woke victory. Why? Because Crimson Desert is not woke. And the very virtue of it being not woke, not necessarily anti-woke, but just the virtue of it being not woke, we win.
Victory. And it's making them very, very upset. So what's going on with Crimson Desert? Well, this was a much hyped up release. Again, this is an open world action adventure game. And of course, it had a great level of success. Nearly 15 minutes out of the gate, it broke 100,000 concurrent players, which that's sort of a number.
All right, compare this to the Lesbian Night game. This has 400. There's 100,000 almost 100,000 players at one time versus the 400 of the Lesbian Night game. This is a anti-woke victory. All right, this not just a victory, annihilation. It's like this complete conquest. I can't wait for the other game to come out, the other night game to come out. That would be if that one just annihilates the Lesbian Night game too. Man, that's going to be a huge victory.
For a game like this, that is a great, great start. However, almost immediately, this game was bombarded with negative reviews from reviewers such as IGN, who gave this a 6 out of 10 rating, basically saying it's very underwhelming and boring. Now, that's very rich coming from IGN, who once gave Dustborn and Concord 7s individually, and even gave Dragon Age the Veilguard a 9. So any sort of rating coming from IGN, especially a 6, means absolutely nothing, but it did seem to have an impact on whether or not some people are willing to give this game a shot in the first place. Let's move on to some other reviews. This one coming from Jason Schreier, who has retired from Twitter, for facing valid criticism over the years, and eventually moved on to the echo chamber known as Blue Sky. He left a review for Crimson Desert, calling it boring and soulless, and that he didn't want to play this at all anymore, and said this game feels like it was designed for people who just want to consume content. Now, of course, nobody likes a consumer who will simply buy whatever slop comes their way because that's just what they feel like doing, and they just want to buy something no matter what the quality or what the messaging is for a particular.
It turns out IGN, all these outlets, like this, it's really funny that they're kind of playing the game. They're kind of they support woke stuff, but they hate the Lesbian Night game. Like just like the Lesbian Night game was just that bad. Even the woke outlets are like, nah, don't buy this
particular product. But yeah, at the end of the day, people are consuming content. These are video games. It is content that you are consuming. So just calling it something that people wanted to consume as a form of content is not really a valid criticism unless you provide some sort of rationale as to why that is a bad thing in this case. But then again, just like with IGN, you think about who is sharing this message. And journalists like...
By the way, Chet, we're just $15 away from Pillarman, $15 away. And if we hit that $15 goal, if we get if we hit Pillarman, then we'll go ahead and do the stream. We'll do an extra stream, the extra Twitch stream. All right, we'll lower the goal. If we see $15, we'll get the extra Twitch stream.
Jason Schreier are completely immune to predicting the success of a game. This is the same guy who looked at the initial launch of Dragon Age the Veilguard and saw 58,000 concurrent players on the first day of release and said, go woke, go top the charts. And of course, we know that Dragon Age the Veilguard completely ripped BioWare apart and was a massive failure. And think about that 58K number, right? Like Crimson Desert nearly doubled that in the first 15 minutes of its release. But when confronted with people asking whether or not they genuinely enjoy turds like Dragon Age the Veilguard, Jason Schreier, in his professional capacity as a games journalist, said, I actually don't like the game very much, but I like seeing you chuds get dunked on. Yes, this is a 50-something-year-old man unironically calling detractors on the internet chuds. But we keep moving forward. There's some reviews on Metacritic complaining that Crimson Desert does not have enough LGBTQ plus representation. One review that provided a 0 out of 10.
I remember that one.
Complaining that
somebody gave Crimson Desert a 0 out of 10 on Metacritic because it has no LGBTQ representation. It's disappointing. And that in current year, this isn't about politics. It's about feeling uninvited to play. Like there's no representation. It's not Congress. All right, you don't need to be represented in a game. That's dumb. Play included in the world the game is trying to build. For a modern large-scale RPG like this, the absence feels outdated. They don't have to give you character customization. They don't have to give you representation. They just have to give you a game. That's all they're required to give you.
Crimson Desert does not have enough LGBTQ plus representation. One review that provided a 0 out of 10 said this game is disappointing because
honestly, the game looks fun, but I'm going with a rating of 0 out of 10. It looks fun. So you haven't even played it yet. There's absolutely no LGBT representation at all. It's disappointing in 2026. You looked at it. So the game looks fun, but it didn't have LGBTQ representation in it. So you give it a 0 out of 10. Seems a little off to me. David Musselman, it's the $5 super chat, says, do we think Knight's Path is going to break 100,000 on release? What is its wish list count at all? I don't know. I'm not sure about 100,000. But to me, it doesn't really need to make that much. It is to maybe 10,000 will be enough to just bring it to victory, because the Lesbian Knight game only had 400.
it had no LGBTQ representation at all. It's disappointing in 2026. This isn't about politics. It's about feeling invited to play and included in the world the game is trying to build. Amazing stuff. Stunning and brave. Now, you think all these reviews and complaints are ridiculous, but it was working. Like I said, it prevented some people from even trying this game, and it even had an impact on the studio who designed it, Pearl Abyss. Pearl Abyss and their share price plummeted nearly 30% after the first reviews arrived for this game. This is a very big deal, okay? A 30% drop based largely on the negative reviews. And like I said, on Steam there for a moment, it was sitting at a 50-50. A lot of people were reading into what the journalists were saying and having a very negative outlook on this game, or giving it a very small chance. To add on top of that, there were complaints about AI usage in this game. A Redditor discovered an AI-generated artwork in Crimson Desert. And you know how certain pockets of people on social media are when it comes to AI. They get very upset. Now, here comes the irony. Once again, consider the source. One of the journalists reporting on this is IGN, who complained about the AI-generated art assets contained in Crimson Desert, while, of course, using Sprout.
Oh yeah, they try to take it down with their spurging about AI, because there is some background paintings that were generated with AI, and like, oh, it's generative AI, destroy it, bring it down. Like they're trying to say, like trying to point to AI as like, oh, there's a little bit of AI in it, so it must be destroyed. But thing is, AI is here to stay. Like, it's not going away. companies are going to be using AI, so it's going to get used to it.
Social, which is an AI tool. They literally made this article using AI tools in order to complain about AI generated art assets. The irony is palpable. However, some people made a big fuss about this on social media, saying that they're refunding this game immediately, despite the fact that Crimson Desert came out and addressed this immediately and removed any sort of AI generated art in the game. But then again,
because I think they were placeholder assets. They kind of forgot to switch out.
And who's the source? Look at the person making this complaint. A game dev for Intergalactic. Yes, this Intergalactic that has a brutal
Whoa, 310,000 dislikes. That is pretty brutal.
Dislike ratio for its official trailer on YouTube. And that is the person who is whining about this. Very interesting behavior coming from a game dev who is immediately pitting themselves against Crimson Desert. Meanwhile, they should be worrying about what's going on in their own backyard as opposed to what's going on at other studios. But of course, self-awareness is not really in the making of these sorts of game devs or anyone who'd be working on Intergalactic for that matter. But it's not just game devs and journalists complaining about it, social media users as well. We see this sort of sentiment from some users saying, is this game actually going to be good, or is this going to be another Wukong situation? Another Wukong situation. The rewriting of history when it comes
What's the Wukong situation?
to Black Myth Wukong is very strange. I mean, look at this game, right? This is a single player game that released nearly 2 years ago, and it's still sitting at 4,200 in-game.
By the way, Chad, we're just $10 away from Pillarman. Just $10 away from Pillarman. We're getting pretty close, Chad. We're getting pretty close to the extra stream. Getting pretty close indeed.
Players with a 96% positive rating. Okay, this was a triumph. Peaked at over 2 million concurrent players.
Yeah, 2 million? That is pretty good.
This was a massive success, but now it's being considered a game that's overhyped. Like, this is crazy. And you can see right here, on the same vein of these reviews being very misleading, Crimson Desert has around just shy of an 80 Metascore from the critics, but compare that to Black Myth Wukong, that had an 81. And also Stellar Blade, that also had an 81. So, like, even the meta scores here are very, very hard to rely on, especially given their history with games like Black Myth Wukong. But of course, I think there was a big issue with the influence of journalists and people having a very short fuse and tolerance for this game. In fact, there was a large number of players quitting.
Okay, I said that in Cheers as a journalist complained about Wukong having no women, but only because they never got past the start of the game. That's just such peak modern day games journalism. Black Myth Wukong has no women in it. Yeah, because you didn't get past the intro. You didn't get past the tutorial mode. I guess it's stupid game journalist.
Crimson Desert, and even
there's not a woman in the first 5 minutes of a game. It's like, oh, there's no women in here. You gotta get into the game though. You gotta actually get through the tutorial section.
Getting refunds because the first puzzle in the game was too hard.
What is the first puzzle?
Yes, people were.
What is it like?
Giving up that fast, and I think a lot of it is because of a super negative perception they were getting from journalists, game devs, and social media users who said this game is garbage. And when they saw the first obstacle in their way, they immediately quit because they already wanted to quit on it in many sorts of ways. We also had people like this trying to take an early victory lap the day or so after its release, tagging content creators like Smash JT, Vera Dark, and Top G8 here, saying, can you explain this discrepancy, referring to the reviews on Steam DB?
It's pretty devious. It's just, oh yeah, we're gonna all hate on it before it comes out and review bomb it to hell, and then go, haha, see, people hate it. Yeah, because you review bombed it. Like it counts. It doesn't count when you do it, but when we go over there and say, hey, I watched this movie and it's terrible, and we're all kind of energized to go say this movie was terrible. That's bad. That's review bombing. But when they do it, it's like, haha, it failed organically.
For Marathon versus
And it's worse for them because they have like outlets doing this. They have voices that have a lot of weight to them because they have they have mainstream media outlets talking about it. All we have are our own voices. Is saying en masse that we hate this game or this movie or whatever, but that's dangerous. Our voices are dangerous. However, when they write articles that are just kind of full of lies and misinformation and misdirection, that's okay. That's organic, I guess.
This is Crimson Desert saying, I thought Crimson Desert was going to be the game to own the libs or something, and somehow it's getting worse reviews than Marathon. Well, that was a big mistake. Never spike the ball in the end zone too early here because, well, things would turn around quickly. As you can see, it went from a 50-50 rating to well over 70 in just the last 24 hours or so, completely turning things around. In fact, it got close to 80% at one point. And look at the peak player count for the day. It's around 205,000 in-game players as of recording this video. And overall, it looks amazingly healthy. The peak concurrent count is actually increased the last couple of days, reaching the all-time peak.
And see, Palestiana, this is a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Palestiana. Appreciate it. Let me see here. Where is it? Palestiana says AI discourse is rather exhausting at this point. Definitely legit concerns, but it's drowned out by idiots who don't know. Yeah, you shouldn't be like, oh, AI, oh, kill it with fire. Get used to it. All right. At this point, you're kind of the people who are going, no, the internet's just a trend. All right. At this point, those people are like, oh yeah, the internet's just a trend, or the internet. Oh my goodness, the internet. Oh, that's so cringe, bro. Like back in the 80s and 90s, right? They're like, oh, it's just a trend. It's gonna die down. Don't worry about it. It's fine. No, it's not going to be the next big thing. Now here we are. Okay. Right now, the people who are this level of anti-AI is they're just these guys are just in denial. AI is here to stay, especially because it's being used as a tool. Now, is it being used to think for you? Yeah. There are some legitimate concerns about AI, but it's here to stay regardless. So let's go ahead and work it out and work with it so that we can use it the correct way, as opposed to denying it and then letting it run rampant. Right? It's here to stay. Everyone's going to be using AI. Everything, even anime, is going to be using AI. They've said so. All right. So everyone's going to be using AI to kind of pump out things more, pump out more content, more shows, get things to, hurry up and look good at a faster, better quality, look better at a faster rate. It's just they're all going to do it. They're all going to do it. It might not be completely AI, but they're going to use it to touch things up, to help with effects, things like that. So it's here to stay. So this whole whinging about it and saying that, oh, we got to get rid of it. We can't have any AI anywhere. And so like, I got to refund this entire game because there's an AI generated painting in the background of one of the buildings is just ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. So there are, just because you hate AI does not mean you're right. All right. There are extremes on either end, but the truth is somewhere in the middle. Are there problems? Yes. Should we discard AI altogether? No. I think it'd be very foolish to, because it's here to stay. It's going to be here no matter what. So might as well work with it, learn how to use the tool, and see what the problems can be, and what problems we can solve with it, and what issues we can hammer out of this new era of AI, as opposed to this saying we should get rid of all of it. It's not happening. All right. Come to terms with this fact. It's not happening. It isn't happening. All right. It isn't. See chat. Yeah. So ironically, they take AI detectors at face value. They do. So here's the thing. People have discovered this interesting prospect, which is they've been putting in old stuff, like old writing, like even like the old speeches from like hundreds of years ago to just a couple of decades ago, all before the dawn of the AI bots. And the AI detectors are like, oh yeah, this is 97% AI generated. They don't realize, I guess, that a lot of these documents and everything are the baseline for a lot of AI robots, a lot of AI chatbots or whatever. So Yeah, that's why all these old books, old speeches, like the Gay Project Address and everything, will come off as 100% AI, 97% AI, because the AI used those to make their content. The AI uses those as things they learn from. So yeah, of course it's going to say AI because that's kind of it's just that they were the seeds of the AI rather than generated by AI. So definitely legit concerns, but also drawn by idiots who don't know what they're talking about. Ironically, they take AI detectors at face value, which is also, I think, another program. So, yeah, it can make something that is AI or that reads like AI because you have inspiration from like some old author, but it's not. It definitely can be the case. Tank Ferret, good morning to you all, you magnificent bastards and bastettes. Hello to you, Tank Ferret presents. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, chat.
Several days after its release, it's actually improved.
Oh, by the way, I checked it out, and that gets us right to like almost perfectly to Pillarman. Thank you much, Prastiana, for that final push. And we did it, chat. Pillarman is up and ready to go. So we will have an extra stream later on this evening. My goal is maybe 8:30, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern today will be the extra stream on Twitch. So there we go, chat. And if we get it again, if we get Pillarman again on Friday, boom, we're going to have a chat's roulette, chat choice on what we watch on Twitch on Friday. So that'll be how it goes. Anyway, chat. Anyway,
moving over time because people are coming out and giving this game a chance in spite of everything games journalists and activists on social media are trying to say about this game. And part of the reason things are going better is because the developers have been on top of things. They have come out with a lot of changes. And of course, the developers are Pearl Abyss, and they've been very quick coming out and addressing all of the complaints and making a lot of moves, and people are responding very well. It is no secret that right after this set of new changes through this patch, they reached their all-time concurrent player count. That is a very good sign. Now, also realize that user pointed out Marathon. Yeah, Marathon has an 85% review rating, but right now it's sitting at 34,000. I mean, only a tiny fraction of what Crimson Desert has right now. And just look at the all-time here. It has been dwindling consistently every single day, despite having...
And the modern audience just wants to artificially pump itself up. It just doesn't work. It's the organic power, or the power of the people, will always outclass the artificial power of the corporation. It is will, because their power comes from money, and it's really tough to buy that level of love as a level of organic love that a lot of these games have. Okay, it's kind of what happened with a lot of their things, like even in the campaign, presidential campaign, we tried to pump up Kamala Harris to such a point where it was insane levels, where they couldn't even pay back how much money they spent pumping her up into popularity by attaching her to big pop stars and having her campaigns coincide with big concerts and stuff like that. So it looked like her rallies were enormous, and then lost in a landslide loss. So, it's not real. They kind of make it look like it's popular, look like it's booming. It's not real, though. It's all artificial. Now, organic love is what happens when you get games like these smaller games, most small indie games that are just well beloved and stuff like that. But of course, now that MatPat has kind of retired, there was that that era of games that are just kind of were made to be silly and just mysterious for the sake of being mysterious. Unfortunately, that era of indie games is over because MatPat has retired and is no longer looking at weird, strange, and obscure indie games with odd mysteries that are made to generate theories. It's more about being a fodder for theories than actual game and story. Oddly enough, the whole thing with Five Nights at Freddy's, they kind of had a weird, interesting relationship because I'm pretty sure Five Nights at Freddy's proceeded the way it did because of MatPat. Pretty sure. I think he acknowledged that too. I think he acknowledged that as well.
Some changes come out. It hasn't really impacted much. Like Marathon, like I said, was never going to be a gigantic flop. It wasn't going to be a Concord, but like these numbers seem pretty disappointing for a game that had a budget in the hundreds of millions. But I guess that is a comparison point now people are using. You can see some journalists like Paul Tassi, I mean, another positive impact by Paul Tassi here, saying me when I see
this guy increased from 58% to 78% positive stream reviews in 72 hours.
Crimson Desert increase from
this guy I think writes for Ford. Oh no, what's it called? Forbes. He writes for Forbes.
58% to 78% positive Steam reviews in 72 hours. He is on the right side of history as a journalist for another release in a row. Good on him, but not every person in the games journalism scene was happy about things turning around for Crimson Desert. You see Andy Cortez here absolutely losing his mind, saying, "True."
They're like this. They I don't know. What is it? All these like SJW men who are like these women posting their own L's on the internet. It's weird stuff.
We had no idea the loser gamer chuds were claiming Crimson Desert success as an anti-woke victory. LMA.
I don't remember that at all, actually. I don't remember everyone saying, oh, yeah, Crimson Desert is going to be this anti-woke victory. I don't remember that. I remember people liking it and saying, I'm glad it's not woke. But I don't remember there being a big push that, oh, yeah, it's going to be the anti-woke victory we've been waiting for. Because really, what could you say about Crimson Desert before it came out? Like, it's kind of an unreadable game. It's an RPG, but like an open world RPG, kind of like, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that. Like it's just I know Red Dead Redemption 2 had like a really good story and everything, but it's kind of like open world, lots of detail, lots of things to do, stuff like that. Maybe like Skyrim, maybe. Like what could you really say is about Crimson Desert would be about without playing it first? It's like a whole new IP. It's a whole new thing that you're gonna step into. So how I don't remember there being like a big gigantic rallying cry. This is the anti-woke victory thing that we've been waiting for.
No, they just make up the weirdest nonsensical stuff. So yeah, this guy's jimmies are totally not rustled here. He's talking about loser gamer chuds, aka anyone who disagrees with him on anything. And he is saying that people are claiming this as an anti-woke victory. I don't really know about that. I don't really see many people doing that. I just think people are saying the game is getting more positive coverage and positive reviews the second people stopped listening to games journalists and actually tried out the game for themselves. I think there is definitely a lesson here. And just look at this guy. Like, what is this guy even doing? I mean, this guy's so audience captured by his own agenda. He has to include this in his handle, saying that he didn't pay for the blue check mark. He has to make sure to all the people that follow him that he is not supporting Elon Musk with this blue check mark. He didn't pay for it. He has to make this clear because otherwise he's going to get eaten alive by the progressives he is trying to appeal to so desperately.
I wonder if things have changed now that you can't use Grok unless you have a blue check mark. You can't use Grok unless you're paying for it. I wonder if that changed things a little bit because they love using Grok to debunk you and stuff. Today, Muslim Elixir Fighter Chat says, according to the internet, King Nightpath had 300,000 wish list in late Feb, so it might have 350 by now. Well, that's good. That's good. 350,000 had 300,000 wish listed in late Feb. Is that where the Lesbian Night game said they had 250,000 to have that to have that win over Night's Path? So I'm hoping they like those are real. I'm pretty sure that those feel like they're real wish lists as opposed to the fake ones, because they probably got like some artificial wish listing with Lesbian Night game because of all the controversy and all the articles and saying that this is the future of gaming or whatever. So all the chuds are attacking it. I wonder if that's the case. So I think the Knight's Path is more organic because the people who support it, even if they support it through this controversy that it went through, are usually actual gamers. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who actually were shown Knight's Path were actually interested in the game. Like, oh, cool, it's a pretty cool game. I want to support these devs who love and respect gamers. The thing is, love and respect for the people that you're selling to has even recently historically proven to be the better strategy. Right, the better strategy to going forward, as opposed to being pretentious and saying, "Oh, you don't get to buy my game." Right, hating on your audience that you're trying to sell to doesn't really sell as much as they think, and it definitely doesn't sell as much as respecting and liking the audience that you're selling to, which is what Knight's Path did, versus what the Lesbian Night game did, which is like, "Oh, don't you dare start catering to these ridiculous chuds." Like that was their attitude, and it look what happened.
The totally normal person over here who recently directly tagged Asmongold and said that when his father passed away, it made things worse for him because the guy had no one left to disappoint, and then called him a ugly, racist cretin. Yes, totally progressive and empathetic as usual with these individuals. But there were some more responses from Mighty Kefir, one of the shills in the industry, saying, I was shocked to not see the usual grifters posting 50 times a day about Crimson Desert's negative receptions at launch until I found out they, for whatever reason, tried to adopt it into their culture war. Their hypocrisy has no end. Had this been a game they thought clashed with their ideals in any way, you would see headlines like Crimson Desert a failure, everyone hates Crimson Desert, and other hyperbolic rhetoric. I think the lady doth protest too much. I think Mighty Kefir is projecting, because if this game was presented, as they're trying to claim, as some anti-woke triumph, these people would be dancing in the streets if it was failing, okay? But because this game turned things around in spite of what journalists were trying to do to it for days.
You keep forgetting I have games in them. I look at wishlist every once in a while to see like which games I wishlisted that have are on discount or something. I currently have 126 games on wishlist. Sometimes they are discounted. I just don't really feel like buying them still. So it depends, because like I do want to get it, but I also have a lot of games I have to get through as well. So I was like, no, I'll just wait on it. Especially right now, a lot of them are on sale. And I'm not sure if I want to like pay for these just yet, because that'll add more games to my roster. And despite the fact that I haven't finished these games, but some of them are really good sales too. Anyway,
all of a sudden now they're seething and coping about it, trying to say that people would have not talked about its failure because it's some sort of agenda push here. I don't really understand. I think this game is just a regular game. I don't think there's really an agenda here at all. I think
that's why it's anti-woke, or not woke. That's why it's a victory at the very least for anti-woke people, because it's not agenda driven. It's just a game. It's just normal. It's just a normal game without any of that the representation. Like the very idea that it has no gay representation is a big selling point to people now, because we're tired of all that stuff being shoved down our throats.
Just came out and gave people an enjoyable experience without any woke nonsense. That's kind of like what the standard is supposed to be. And now it's succeeding because people
now
are
you're coping and seething. Fasciano says anti-AI people using Grok to dunk on people. Yeah, it's pretty funny. As we see like anti-AI people using Grok. Again, irony via lack of self-awareness. It's like it's okay when I do it, all right?
The content and ignoring what a bunch of whiny crybabies like Andy Cortez have to say about it. Like nobody actually cares what this guy has to say. And now that his little victory he thought he had and journalists thought they had with the tough starts, or at least the not perfect start for Crimson Desert, it's been evaporated. Now they're whining about the loser gamer chuds and making this all about the culture war stuff, which of course,
yeah, that's going to help. Yeah, you know what's really going to sell your games and your woke games? Dunking on the people who buy them. Dunking on the people who have the most incentive to buying this stuff. I don't know. How come they keep doing this? I guess it's been a thing they've been doing for like 10 years, which is I want to make a product. So my main selling point and my public persona is going to be dunking on the people who would buy it. What the hell? Like this happened way back when in Marvel, with Marvel Comics. They kind of hated on comic book buyers and fans of the characters they're writing about. They were dunking on them, saying, "Hey, you're uninvited to buying this. We're not. This is not made for you. This is a new era comics." And then nobody bought them. And like, what the hell? Racist misogynists do not like women of power. They actively disinvited us from buying their product because we told them we didn't want this, and they decided to do it anyway. And they're like, surprise Pikachu face. So something happened with Gamergate. What spawned Gamergate? The games journalists decided to start using their giant media platforms to start dunking on gamers, the people who would buy these games. And then that started Gamergate, and boom, Trump was elected. Apparently, according to internet lore, Gamergate, boom, equals Trump.
Now people like this are accusing their ideological opponents of doing while doing it themselves. And overall, yeah, people stop listening. The user scores on Metacritic have now surpassed the Metascore. And this is shooting up every single day because, again, people are actually trying it out for themselves and giving this game the chance that, well, journalists didn't want them to give.
Turns out if you think for yourself, when people start going in there thinking for themselves, they like the game. Oddly enough, and not letting Grok or ChatGPT or a internet games journalist do the thinking for them. Turns out the game's pretty good, actually. Anyway, chat. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to stream memes, chat, stream memes. So we did hit Prillerman. All right, chat. So here we go. Lower your volume or raise your volume, whatever you prefer, and a loud clip incoming. Pillarman. Then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, yes, best chat. Thank you much, everyone, for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated, chat. We have unlocked the Pillarman, the Aztecian gods of fitness to bless us this wonderful day. But now, chat, we have unlocked and we have reached the point of the stream of stream memes. Here we go, chat. March 25th, 1922. Very cool. Very cool. And say, Joy Behar, we should cut SpaceX because we already have NASA. Gutfield, we should cut The View because we already have Animal Planet. Aw, damn. Got her. How do they, why are they all retarded? Yeah, NASA is for like a discovery and stuff like that. Space exploration, studying things like that for scholarly intentions. Space Force is specifically so that if we in the future run into a military conflict in space, even if it's another country and not aliens, they will have a military force that can fight in space. It just makes sense. Although it should be noted that Trump made this Space Force after learning about aliens. So there you go. You need to break generational trauma. Nuclear power is disaster waiting to happen. Nuclear power is a disaster waiting to happen. You know what? Screw that. Nuclear power is the safest and cleanest way to make electricity. Let's see here. Again, we just keep talking about Chernobyl, but really, if now that we know, it's a little bit safer. I mean, that's like the worst case scenario, and it was written by commies. So, I mean, the whole horrific disaster is just inevitable. Do you guys prefer the ibuprofen hot dog or hamburger style? You know what? Hamburger style. It's like how you fold paper. Was anyone in class and had the teacher go like, okay, now fold your paper hamburger style or fold your paper hot dog style? In C chat. Bought a triple cat bowl holder so that when we're eating, the mogs can line up perfect. Oh, never mind. Let's see. The 1980s, A&W tried to compete with McDonald's Quarter Pounder by selling a third Quarter Pounder at lower cost. Product failed because because most customers thought the Quarter Pounder was big. Because it has a 4. Is that why? Because it's a 4. Yeah, they should have thought about that. It's like, okay, why do I get why would I want to get a third pounder when I could get a Quarter Pounder? Idiot. Don't you know that 4 is larger than 3? Yeah, that was a good idea. I'm going to give you a bigger burger for a far lesser of a price, but they didn't count on the kind of people who buy this burger. They didn't count on the most common denominator people coming in and go, 4 is bigger than 3, so I'm going to get the Quarter Pounder. This is why I don't argue online. It's kind of like this is these really are the people you're dealing with online quite a bit. Like so much. So much. Oh man. But yeah, they should have marketed a little bit different, I guess. Just they should have emphasized that it was larger than the quarter pounder. Like this emphasize how minuscule the quarter pounder is. Let's see. The N files. The chirp is out there. That should be now. That show will sell. Whatever happened to masculinity after Obama was elected? Oh well, with Trump as my witness, people have to thank him for bringing us out of this godforsaken nightmare. Yeah, like Obama really inspired a generation of men to be as effeminate as possible. That is pretty interesting. Let's see. OpenAI will shut down Sora video platform. Disney drops plans for a $1 billion investment. Wait. Someone said, seeing an NSFW artist make SFW content is equivalent of seeing your drug dealer at the supermarket. I guess so. Yeah. Like, what the hell? Or seeing your drug dealer sell or work at the supermarket, right? Mom, Dad, I'm bisexual. Damn, and you're still single? So you're playing both fields and you're still single? Loser. Let's see. I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I'm bisexual. Here's some incredibly boring information about my life. I like the Discord and Twitter stickers. That makes so much sense. Enjoying the circus, Donnie? Yes, Mr. Clown. You have some more bread. Thank you, Mr. Clown. And you have no desire to rise up against the establishment, right? I'd never, Mr. Clown. I got bread in circuses. And see, rule of bears. Brown lay down, black fight back, white say goodnight. Gummy and get the tummy. And see, hi, I'm Ming. And I really don't appreciate what your assumptions prove about my reputation. Well, that's too bad. You don't have to appreciate it. Let's see. Aluminum Fence says, not me. Obama always struck me as a college professor whose class you have to take because it's part of the core curriculum, but you know more than him, and it's just a 10. He just has tenure. Yeah, kind of. Like he's like a like government enforced curriculum. That part. Tell me, Adam, have I been a bad father to you? Alexander. My name is Alexander. Whatever. I'm leaving you, and I'm taking our son with me. Thank you. Remember that time Worf adopted a child and no one heard from him again? Yes, I did. That was an episode of TNG where like this mother died. This kid's mom died on a mission I think Worf led, and so Worf adopted him into his house or something, and we never saw him again. Now we did see Alexander. But like, I think Worf hated him. I think Worf hated his son. Turned on by Riker, turned on by Riker, turned on by Riker, turned on by Riker. Let's see. It was this. What the hell are you doing here? Oh, hi, Quark. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Quark. Let's see here. As some of y'all putting off Captain Kirk energy, so y'all be putting off Quark energy. But in the end, we're all clown shoes. It's just a matter of how big and how squeaky. Replicators are theft. Replicators are theft. They don't make anything new. They just have a large database of recipes they stole from other people and bash stuff together based on lazy person's prompts. Replicating isn't real cooking. Sir, this is a Quarks. Everything here is theft. Hey, Cisco promises to respect Bajoran religious beliefs, blocks off the interest of Bajoran heaven with a self-replicating minefield, which is, I think, impossible, but hell, they did it. Big boob elf girl mention. Absolutely. Absolutely. They've got to go. But before we do, any upcoming projects? Is it a big dragon? I was offered a role on Sherlock. I turned them down, of course. Yeah, this is a guy that is Sherlock. Let's see. Entire series takes place in communist dystopia. You must dress as if that's not even true. As the Federation orders you to dress, you can only eat what Federation allows you to eat. Taste is forbidden. You may only eat synthetic, flavorless food. This is kind of a conflict Deanna Troy has. Like, she doesn't want replicated chocolate. She wants real chocolate. Free will is forbidden. Anything that incentivizes free will is strictly forbidden. All humans are essentially automations with no free will and hive mind of sorts. Is Star Trek the scariest horror story ever made? None of this is even true. They have lots of free will. Huge fan of Star Trek. Shows a future utopia for humans. The planet Earth is a paradise. No poverty or hunger or racism or crude racial stereotypes. Favorite show is Deep Space Nine. Yeah, which is full of that. It has all that stuff in there. And then Ben Sisko, brave, intelligent, and compassionate, one of the first black captains of serious screen time shown on Star Trek. Final episode, Sisko saves the Alpha Quadrant, immediately abandons his son and pregnant wife. This is true. And Avery Brooks hated that prospect of his character. He hated that element. The Assigning Writers couldn't give a black man a win. Yeah, even then. Star Trek is actually fascist. Let's see. Literally do Nazi salute, torture their citizens, has an emperor. Female crew not allowed to lower half of shirts. Yeah, they are, though. Even in the early seasons, they are. Forced to lift weights. Forced to lift weights. It's a character gets a mysterious new pet. The pet ends up causing major problems by deleting food stores and multiplying controllably. At that Kirby. Let's see. Planet Robobot. Star Trek Next Generation, used by Voyager, First Contact. As the robots mechanizes organic life forms, a main character is mechanized against his will and is used as a weapon against. This is the plot behind Sonic Underground, I think, where Robotic turns all of their friends into mechs, I think, or robot versions. Let's see. Kirby, an amazing mirror. Kirby Triple Deluxe. And over here is the original series, DS9, Enterprise, Discovery. A parallel universe / mirror universe exists with evil mirror versions of the main character. That's like the oldest trope in history, I think. It's one of the oldest tropes. I think it might have been made by Star Trek, but it's a really old trope by now, to the point where the goatee itself is a trope. Like, okay, here's the evil version of this character. He must have a goatee. The goatee makes you evil. A character who owns his own business, scams and tricks others to gain money and or power, but it is also a genuine friend to the other characters when the plot requires it. Let's see. Funny chef character with a sad backstory. Oh, Neelix. Let's see. There's a lot of these. Let's see more of that. Grand Theft Spells. Beyond Journey's End. They're free. I guess she does steal spells, doesn't she? Nothing goes to waste on a starship. Everything's recycled. For instance, did you know that I make the food we eat out of the crew's own waste? I know how replicators work. Yes, replicators. Right, replicators. Beverly's love interest, a sexy parasite, which I think is the Irishman. Being of pure light, that's the Irishman. Sexy ghost is the Irishman. Sexy dead husband, sexy dead terrorist. I don't remember that one. Or was that Okana? Was that Okana? I can't quite remember. And then bald slut, which is Picard. This is the guy that wins, though, is Picard. Crimson Desert. Look, is this holding the disc? I don't see any issue here. Just showing off a copy of Crimson Desert. Like, real easy. I don't see any issues there. I was told I had to face the wrath of the Martin audience. I was told it was behind this door. Huh? What was I afraid of? Yeah, there is no Martin audience. The Martin audience is a myth. 100%. All right. Thank you much, everyone. Appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and close on the stream for today. So thank you much, everyone, for joining me today. Thank you much, Best Chat, for always being Best Chat. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. So again, of course, next time.
On a cold winter morning in the time before the light, in flames of death's eternal rain, we ride towards the fight. When the darkness